Fornax, fuck it up.
Be realistic, I don't really see no competition. Who she thinks she talking to? Like, obviously, I'm a nigga. Close that door, niggas snakes, I ain't going for it. Move right, outsmart them, stink team, most wanted. Be realistic, niggas bums, they ain't tryna ball. Ran it back and won, nigga, anytime we took a loss. Rock hard in my double cup, I keep spilling sauce. I don't know nothing, bodies dropped, he was not involved. Versatile, I could be a model or chalk the block. Or pop a lock with a dough, X marks the spot. Cut it out, if she ain't beneficial, I'ma cut her off. Bitch, give up, drop right now, made her cough it up. Old demons, everywhere I go, we dropping icicles. Is we kidding? Broke niggas rapping science fiction. Every day a movie, it ain't hard to be the most consistent. A flow flammer, I be in and out with orange chicken. You know who really for the win, be realistic. He just wanna be my friend, be realistic. They don't really get no Uchis, be realistic. They can't do it how we do it, be realistic, man. Shit, bitch. You know who really for the win, be realistic. Shit. Yeah. They can't do it how we do it, be realistic.
You know who run the city, let's be realistic. Where the wonton soup, I'm finna tear up the kitchen. Cause you the feds or the cops, mind your business. Draco was the dime, bitch, tell all your children. Walk up acting stupid, I might men in black his memories. Tear it off quick, bitch, now, literally. If now you gotta go to sad facts, you can't sit with me. I know I got this big Buddha piece, I need 10 of these. Things got the sauce, ingredients, and the recipe. I never stop rapping till my neck look like Mr. Then again, after that, I'ma still keep shit talking. He said he was a thug, it sound good, we made a bitch out of him. Best advice to be my friend, be realistic. I ain't even say a word, I walk in and feel the tension. All these niggas home dick, sometimes life calls for whippings. I'm a joint in my city, I ain't tucking in the trenches.
You know who really for the win, be realistic. He just wanna be my friend, be realistic. They don't really get no Uchis, be realistic. They can't do it how we do it, be realistic, man. Shit, bitch. You know who really for the win, be realistic, man. Yeah. They can't do it how we do it, be realistic.
We Japanese still. You getting cooked in front of your family like a Japanese meal. It's Yashub the Hibachi, and none of you niggas can stop me. We back, y'all. Another episode. Another lesson to be told. You know what I'm saying? I got my brother swinging and banging from the land of Canaan. James, what's happening, man?
Hey, shalom, Mark, man. Give me a sec real quick. I'm going to put my mic on, but I just want to say shalom to everybody, man. I'm ready to get this show rolling.
All right, yeah, man. Tonight we're going to be talking about the Yamnaya because we're gonna do our due diligence and teach our brothers, their history. You understand? And how really how they can reconcile this 12 tribes chart thing. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have to drop the E markers. You're gonna tell us to kick rocks, and then you're gonna have to go ahead and promote that R. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have to be strong on that R. So we're gonna teach y'all history, man. I'm gonna tell y'all some savages, man. When you look into the R1B introgression into Western Europe, Central Europe, and Eastern Europe, and into Britain, it was like y'all did y'all thing, man. Y'all went over there and y'all took over that whole continent, so hats off. So y'all come to the source, y'all come to the Genesis 49ers, and we're gonna educate you guys. We're gonna give you the information, no BS. You understand? Straight dope, no bullshit. You understand? So I got a few articles I want to entertain today and give you guys. And a lot of you guys that left comments on my last video, you inspired this one, man. A lot of y'all was getting upset because I'm mentioning Guerrilla Hebrew, but I'm using Guerrilla Hebrew to teach the people. Because in these religious organizations, what happens is, Amir, funny. He said, I know how to fix the 12 tribes chart. I don't know how to say that, fadistic, and believe it on the blindest faith. Man, I'm telling you, bro, it's some information. Like, if you look at that 12 chart, a lot of it got a lot to do with Naya descendants. A lot of it has a lot to do with R markers, right? I'm going to show you something. Let's open up the show with this. right? Check this out. Let's share my screen here. So this is a paper written about a downstream marker R1b DF27, and it talks about the impact of this haplogroup R1b DF27 in Hispanic admixed populations from Latin America. And we have a lot, you know what I'm saying? We have our job we have a tall task, because you can tell by the comments that our people need to be educated in this field. And I'm going to spend a lot of time going through this source material to make sure you guys get this information and recapitulate it, because during a live this week, somebody left a comment in the live chat stating that Native Indians are Native Indians. They're not haplogroups. And that shows that these people don't understand the material, and we're going to make sure that we educate you guys so you can, grasp it. Haplogroups are a group of individuals that share a common ancestry. So if you're assigned R1b, you share common male ancestry with every other male that is assigned R1b, because you share segments and signatures on your Y DNA with those individuals. And the only way you can get those things is through descent, through the act of sex, through the act of copulation. So that's how we know you guys share a common male ancestry, and we know where you guys stem back to. So again, it's a tall task on our shoulders, and Yap Gang is willing to fill that position and that role to make sure you guys are thoroughly educated on the subject. But this paper right here, the impact of haplogroup R1b DF27 in Hispanic admixed populations from Latin America, is very telling when you read this paper. And remember, the chart includes Cuba, it includes Brazil, it includes places in Central America, Chile, Puerto Rico. It includes a lot of these Hispanic countries. It's like 19 Hispanic countries, right? And then it includes it. Well, the genetic matrix of these people is very Western European, right? So if we read the abstract, because this is a summation of the entire paper, right? It says the study of Y chromosome SNPs allows to link haplogroups to paternal biogeographical ancestry. So that's how we know you're most likely of European descent, right? Because you have this marker. It says the analysis of haplogroup R1b M269 and its subhaplogroups in Latin American populations can help to assess the European paternal contribution, right? So a lot of you guys that watch our videos, you think we're just talking. No, we're showing you guys what the experts are saying. A lot of people say certain things like, "Why don't you guys get a geneticist on?" Where are we reading this from? You see these people here listed here? These are
Like they gonna say something different from their paper, huh?
Yeah.
Like they gonna say something different from what they publish. Come on, man.
James, I don't understand, but we're reading directly from what the geneticists publish.
Yeah, I would understand, like, I make it a point to just copy and paste straight out the source because, if we put in our own words, they swear we plagiarizing something. So it's not like we even putting this in our own words or wording it the way we want to. No, we bringing it directly from the source and giving it to you just as it's written.
Exactly. We got some more of the Yap Gang in the building. We got True Brew Rule, the Hebrew. What's going on, brother? Shalom. Your volume's low, man.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right, shalom, y'all.
I thought you was Captain Kazar for real, somewhere in a cave somewhere, brother.
Yeah, I'm keeping it Khazarian today.
And we got my brother Sean Michaels, aka Sean Hannity, in the building. What's going on?
What's yapping dead? What's going on tonight? What we doing? I'm buckling in.
We talking about Yamnaya ancestry, R1b ancestry, and how it relates to these brothers in the Americas and Latin America.
Seems like a good topic for tonight.
Yeah, I think it's a great topic, man. Shout out to my brother Amir, man. Amir says, premise one, if people from Latin American populations are descended from Europeans, then they're not descended from Jacob. Premise two, they are descended from Europe. Conclusion one, they're not descended from Jacob. Listen, man, they can, but here's the thing, man. I'm trying to help my brothers out, so I'm trying to make them be more logically coherent, right? So what we have to just entertain that maybe they are descendants from Jacob, but if they are descendants of Jacob, they got to get rid of the African component, right? Because most of these
the
people
ones
are
that mainly meet the curses, as
the
they say.
criteria.
Yeah, the ones that mainly meet the criteria of Deuteronomy 28, the slave ships. We got to throw them out and only use the European side, the enslavers.
They about to shift to the blessings.
Yeah, they that's all the blessing.
Hey, Amir, I'm trying, brother. Why is you killing me, man? I'm trying to make this work, brother. Premise 3, if they're not descended from Jacob, then the 12 tribes chart is bunk. Premise 4, they're not descended from Jacob. Conclusion 2, the 12 tribes chart is bunk. Hey, brother, you grim, man. You's a grim brother, man.
That
You
brother
probably
gave
ain't
a
got
whole
no
syllogism.
he probably ain't got no friends. This brother's the Grim Reaper. Everything he touched just dies. Like this brother is grim. Shout out to BA in the chat. Lance, where was you yesterday? We needed you, Lance. I needed somebody to match this brother's pseudo. The brother that came on, what's his name? Darvis. We needed somebody to match his energy, man. Amir said, yeah, but like any modification of their hypothesis, it's trade-offs and call. Yeah, I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, so if you start, validating that everybody on that list is Israelites, you have to analyze those that have the Western European DNA and those that are African. You're gonna have to separate the two at some point. You're gonna have to separate the two. Hey man, I slipped out, man. I said you have to match him with that pseudo energy, brother. This brother was telling us that what's some of that crazy stuff he was saying yesterday, man? White people just popped up out of nowhere around the 17th century, and before that they were in their development stages, and a chimpanzee had sex with a black person, and that's what
Okay, so
James.
His soft position was white people popped up somewhere in the 1700s. His hard position was that they must have been around, but he don't know how they got there.
Yeah,
I don't know what type of dudes y'all be talking to, like.
That brother came out of nowhere, man.
But it is an open platform, right? Everybody gets to speak and say their opinion. So hey, it is what it is.
Yeah. We didn't censor the brother. The brother was able to get his spiel out, and out of all people, Jacob Israel was in agreement with him. So I was like, I knew Jacob, you was a pseudo. I knew you was. He was like, yep. That brother was on fire last night.
And you know what? He will not answer my question I posed him today to identify the Y chromosome of Adam, because he keeps trying to say that us as sub-Saharan Africans don't descend from Noah. So he gonna have to start pointing this out on the phylogenetic tree to me, and we're gonna have to pinpoint and hold him to his stances, because he bullshitting at this point.
Yeah, that's why I be ignoring him, dude. I knew he was pseudo racist. Because just like Darvis was trying to say that white people don't come from Noah, he says the opposite, so it is what it is. We let the racists play in the playground together, and then we go, they at the kiddie table, They at the kiddie table with their non-alcoholic drinks. You know what I'm saying? We make sure they don't hurt them. We barricade them, make sure they don't hurt themselves.
With their apple juice.
With their apple juice, you know what I'm saying? High C fruit punch. Little cupcakes.
Sunny D.
While the grown man deal with the strong meat and strong drink, you know what I'm saying? So Amir says Darvis claims the global flood destroyed all humans except for Noah's family. Nephilim were white. White people didn't descend from Noah. Too many countries. I was like, bro. I was trying to explain to this brother, man. He just didn't understand how white people could come from black people. I'm telling you, Cro-Magnons were black people. They were dark-skinned, Africoid people. And, modern Europeans, modern Asians descend from him, from that stock. You want to say something, Rue?
I was just going to mention that Darvis claimed that he was God. And, you know, I didn't see any complaints from Jacob Israel. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. Jacob Israel, you believe a black man is God? All right. So, James, you want to say something, brother?
Nah.
All right, so back on the the plan right here, the schedule, the curricula. Again, the impact of haplogroup R1b, DF27, Hispanic admixed populations, and why this is important because these people are pushing a chart with mostly Hispanic people dominate, but these Hispanics have a lot of Western European DNA, as we just read. The study of Y chromosome SNPs allows to link haplogroups to paternal biogeographical ancestry. The analysis of haplogroup R1b M269, which is probably the marker assigned to Gorilla Hebrew, I'm gonna say that this is most likely it, or a downstream marker of it, or ancestor of it, right? I mean, descendant of it. So, in its subhaplogroups in Latin American populations can help to assess the European paternal contribution. So, a lot of these people that you're calling Latino, Hispanic, a lot of these people are Europeans paternally. You know, they get their native indigenous side on their maternal, not their paternal, not their father's side, which is huge, especially when you come from a culture and you come from a group of people that say that you are who your father is. And if we're identifying people by who their fathers are, then you would have to consider this Western European paternal contribution that you see in the mestizo populations, right? It says the objective of this work was to study the presence of R1b DF27 in Latin American mestizo populations. The obtained results revealed an average frequency of 29 to 35% with a north to south increase in patterns, seeming to agree with the influence of the Spanish commerce routes with America in the colonial era. So again, this is all congruent with history. How did these people get this paternal ancestry during the colonial era when these Iberians came over and started killing off the native indigenous population? They started to have sexual relationships with their women and producing a mestizo caste of people. And this is why a lot of them are basically Europeans paternally, right? It says, thus the finding of DF27 in a forensic context could be due to individuals of both European and Latin American ancestry. In summary, the present work highlights the interest to further analyze R1b DF27 in Latin America. So the introduction says the population of Latin America have been influenced historically by male-mediated migrations. Remember, you are who your father is. This is the theme of BHI, the Black Hebrew Israelites One West, and they get it from the paternal culture that you find in the Bible. It's patrilineal, right? So if you are who your father is, then you have to own up to it, right? It says during the colonial period, stemming mainly from the European countries of Spain and Portugal and Africa, the admixture of local populations of Amerindians and Europeans gave rise to the admixed population known as mestizos, characterized by a European Native American mixed ancestry where the paternal lineage is usually of European origin, right? So again, analyzing this 12 tribes chart that these guys put up there, they say Ezekiel 37 is talking about. Well, if the prophet Ezekiel is talking about that, then that means the prophet Ezekiel is speaking mainly and primarily about Europeans, because majority of your chart consists of Europeans. Look at the genetic matrix of Cuba. Look at Puerto Rico. You understand? Look at all these Spanish places like Central America, Mexico, Guatemala. Look at places like Brazil. Look at places like Chile, Argentina. These places are, again, primarily of European stock, right?
We all know them conquistadors was killing men and taking the women. That's what they did. That's their motto.
It's that simple. And they've been doing that for a long time. We're going to get into that. They've been doing that for a long time, man. They really some head busters, right? And I'm not knocking them for them. The E markers are head busters too.
Yeah, we went through Africa doing the same thing, so we can't say nothing.
Yep. It says here the analysis of Y chromosome SNPs allows to establish haplogroups and paternal biogeographical ancestry. R1B M269 and its subhaplogroup R1B S116 are among the most common West European paternal lineages. The R1B S116 sublineage R1B DF27 has been found to be near specific of the Iberian Peninsula. So if you got these two markers, then we know that your forefathers came from the Iberian Peninsula. Right? It's a high probability. And notice the brother has not published his DNA yet. You know, we haven't seen it. So, but you know, it's highly likely that he's one of these M269 descendants or M269 itself, right? But again, it says in its analysis could contribute to deepen the paternal, the European Iberian introgression in Latin America. Right? It says the objective of the present work is to study the presence of R1B-DF27 in Latin America, mestizo population from 5 countries: Panama, Nicaragua, El Salvador, Guatemala, and Colombia. And I believe on the chart, Panama, Nicaragua, El Salvador, I think they say these people are Zebulon, right? Guatemala and Colombia. Colombia might be Asher. So according to the DNA analysis, the people that they're calling Zebulon and designating as Asher are highly European. So does that mean that the 12 tribes are European?
Hey, I get it. The Northern Kingdom is European. The Southern Kingdom is African, Sub-Saharan African. Ain't that high line up though? Look at it.
They must be saying that, right? I'm trying to make
yeah, that's what they gotta be saying.
All right, so the material methods to talk about how they collected this from the blood or saliva samples. And, you know, this goes back to some guerrilla Hebrew says, are you saying a tube of spit can tell me my paternal ancestry? Yes, a tube of spit can, because, again, your saliva has saliva cells, and within your saliva cells have a nucleus, and within the nucleus, there's a copy of your DNA. All right? So we're going down here, and they show you the different areas that they're testing: Panama. They even got Puerto Rico here, El Salvador, Guatemala, Mexico, and give you a chart of pretty much the density of this marker. The red being the most. It says geographic location study populations and black population analyzing present stud, Mexico, Puerto Rico, and Antioquia, which is in Colombia. Data were obtained from 1,000 Genomes Project. Contact map of the derived allele frequency R1B-DF27 for interpretation of references in color. And this figure legend, the reader is referred to the web version of the article. And that's pretty much talking about this one here. Let's go down. The molecular analysis is discussing the actual subclade here. And it tells you the statistical analysis. So we're going to go to the results and discussion. So it says the observed frequencies of R1B-DF27 are shown in table 1. And in Colombia, you're at 35% of this particular subclade of R1B-DF27. So you can see how, remember, this subclade, these people are stemming from where? Iberia. You can see how pervasive this is. 35%. 32% in Panama, 35% in Colombia, Nicaragua about 33%, El Salvador about 28%, Guatemala damn near 30%, Mexico, this clade is about 10%, Puerto Rico is about 34%, and Colombia is about 38%. So this particular downstream marker of M269 has a huge slice of the pie in these countries that these guys are claiming to be Ephraim, claiming to be Zebulun, claiming to be Issachar, claiming to be these different Northern Kingdom tribes. So what are you really saying? You're implying that the Israelites actually come from Iberia. You have to be. You have to be saying that these people are Western European. There's no other way around it. When we look at the genetic matrix, in Colombia, it's very high. It's 38% of this particular subclade. Right?
A good chunk. That's a good chunk of South America. People don't even realize it.
There's a third of it.
And that's just that subclass.
Yes, exactly.
You know?
Exactly. There's more to be revealed.
It says the European haplogroup R1b DF27 displays an average frequency of 28 to 35%. And again, we have to express, put stress on this word European, because what these people do is say, oh, R1b's in Africa. R1b's in Africa, and they mainly talk about VA8, but that's very rare in the Americas. Very rare in the Americas, and VA8 itself comes from Europe. Or European, it stems from European populations. It's just more ancient. Ultimately, yeah, it's just more ancient. All right. Let me read some of these comments. I think I seen something that was funny. Mir says, I remember reading a study a while back. My memory may be a bit fuzzy on the details. If I recall correctly, Mexico's northern population has higher arm makeup than the South, but it varies. Most likely. Yeah, we had to spin the bins again, brother. We had to spin the bins again. According to Darwin, I can spread yap to monkeys, so why are monkey brothers and sisters being left off the 12 tribe chart? Yeah, that brother was advocating that monkeys can get impregnated by humans. He was saying that. Dion says, I'm just learning about DNA and genetics. What type of information, books, papers should I read for a basic understanding? I always tell people to get Matasu's book on DNA for archaeologists, because they do a great job at breaking it down. Or you can get Family Tree, Your Guide to DNA, and it gives you the basics. All right, so back to this. Oh, my brother Lance, what are you talking about, man? Judah, Benjamin, Levi only mix with each other. The other tribes will mix wherever lands. I agree, brother. They did mix. But the problem is the 12 tribes chart is not talking about mixture. It's saying that everybody on that list go back to Jacob. So that's not mixture. They're saying that everybody on that list has a pure paternal lineage back to Jacob. The problem with that is a lot of these people are European, right? Anyway, so the European haplogroup here, we're stressing that, right? Displays an average of 28-35%, being the highest in Colombia and the lowest in El Salvador. The observed frequency are in concordance with the view data of R1bDF27 in Latin American population collecting the 1,000 Genomes Project, displaying an increasing gradient of frequencies from Mexico to Colombia. And I think Mexico has a high paternal indigenous rate as well. I think it's like 30%, if I remember correctly. Let me continue reading.
Aztec warrior homes.
It says the distribution of R1bDF27 frequencies in the 5 population samples seem to agree with the influence of the main commerce routes between Spain and America during the colonial era, which allows to explain the possible reason behind the higher frequencies found in Colombia, where the main port linked to Spanish trade was located. Again, this is congruent with history. The Spanish were coming over here, dominating a lot of these Spanish countries, right? And having a lot of influence and having a lot of sex and having a lot of babies. I mean, it's very simple, man. There's no reason to,
It's called men being men.
Men being men. You see these women and they conquering, they taking, hey, what the pirates do, they take the booty. You know what I'm saying?
Damn right. And a lot of women just choose because they winning. Women just be like, well, we going to the winning side. Ain't no point in us starving out here with these niggas getting whooped.
Yeah, that's history. That's history. The conquering people usually take the women. It says here, our results show that R1bDF27 is present in Latin American frequencies between 9 to 37%, displaying a south to north decreasing gradient. Moreover, the distribution pattern seems to agree with the Spanish trade routes with America in colonial period, observing maximum frequencies where the trade relations with Spain was more intense. It would be of high interest to further analyze the presence of R1bDF27 in Latin America in order to get a more detailed picture of its distribution. In summary, our results indicate that finding R1bDF27 in forensic casework in European countries as Spain, with high rate of immigrants from Latin America, could be due to individuals of both European and Latin American origin. All right, so again, this is the paper you can get this information from. And again, this pretty much it's an eye opener, especially for people that actually. His brother said, "Order, this nigga stupid, man." Listen, man, and for people, y'all gonna stop doing that, all right? But for people that are interested in learning this information, it's all available on the internet. You don't have to join no Masonic lodge or nothing like that to get this. It's right there. And we can clearly see that if you look at this 12 tribes chart and analyze the people that's being talked about, a lot of these people are going back to Europe. A considerable amount of these people are going back to Europe. GRLA Hebrew, he comes from Haiti, which is, I guess, French. But before it was Spanish dominated, right?
Hispaniola.
Hispaniola, right? So we're seeing, and even with the French, we have R1B amongst the French. But we're seeing history in our genes because his forefathers, his paternal lineage stemming back to that region, and he could have very well go back to the Affranchi. We don't know. The Affranchi were Jewish people there. Of course, those Jewish people were stem from Europe. They were probably fleeing the Inquisition and going there to get some kind of religious amnesty, so they can practice their Judaism in peace and not be, condemned for it. So he could stem back there. We don't know, but most likely it's just a European that he got it from, or it could be a European convert to Judaism. So that might be something worth looking into, GRLA Hebrew. But with that, let's go to the next paper because I want to deal with where is these people coming from, why it ties to Europe, and what markers and whatnot, right? So let's go to this paper here. And we're going to really dive into this. We're going to do a deep dive into this history. So this is from BMC Investigative Genetics. And Sam Rose is the author of this. And it says 1 to 3 men fathered most Western Europeans, right? It says a recent study published in Investigative Genetics have shown that genetic lineage of most Western Europeans started from just 1 to 3 men, sparking many and varied online discussions. The study led by Chris Tyler Smith involved producing a model to investigate the expansion of Neolithic genetic lineages throughout Africa and Europe. Both Africa and Western Europe have a predominant genetic lineage or haplogroup. And genetic and archaeological evidence show that both of these haplogroups expanded in their respective populations during the Neolithic period from about 10,000 BC to 3,000 BC. And you guys can guess what the African one is, right? It's haplogroup E, mainly E1B1A, right? So we discussed this before. I put this in a PowerPoint and showed that E1B1A actually stems from as they approximate about 40 people. All E1B1A markers only come from about 40 people, according to this paper.
That's the high end, right?
That's the median. The high end is 80. The low end is 1. It says here, the haplogroups investigated in the study are variations of the Y chromosome only present in men. Using advanced sequencing tools, it was therefore possible to produce a model of population expansion by fatherhood. While the predominant African haplotype E1B1A shows an expansion started from approximately 40 men over about 12,000 years, the European haplotype R1B shows a rapid expansion over a few generations. And this is what we were trying to explain a year ago. Like some of these clades, you can spit these clades out fast through rapid adaptive expansion, right? And we see that with Europeans. So the European haplotype R1B shows rapid expansion over a few generations, start from just 1 to 3 men. This is Biomed Central online magazine. Biome spoke to Chris Tyler Smith to get his take on what the article is telling us. When asked about why the population in Europe may have expanded so rapidly, he suggested that in Europe, the starting number of farmers may have been smaller, so there were fewer Y lineages. In the farmer package, perhaps including several different crops and domesticated animals, may have been well suited to the environment, so the farmers can increase rapidly in number. And this is what we keep telling you guys. Agriculture is huge. Once you introduce a agrarian lifestyle into a society and it's successful, then you're starting to get surplus. Now you can feed more people and more people can survive. So now you can sustain larger population growth, right?
And you take up more land because of it, because you need more land for your growing population. You got to think about it. in the early 1900s. These two-parent households were having 10, 11, 12 kids to work out on these farms. So imagine you back in these days when men were of more importance to the society, they would emphasize having as many sons as possible. And they would have as many sons as possible, which would spread it quick because you have the agriculture to sustain it.
Exactly. So we see the history of R1B going into Europe. People like Gorilla Hebrew, 30% of African Americans, or within that 30%, they have the European, they have the R marker. Your history goes back to these Yamnaya people, and we're going to discuss these people today and teach you people that you really, when you look at the 12 tribes chart, it's really the 12 tribes of Yamnaya, right?
Oh, we haven't touched on them for a minute. This is good. We could take that out and brush it off, dust it off, and get back to that one. Yeah, we haven't done the Yamnaya in a minute. So, all right, let's get it.
Yeah, man, we're gonna touch on because they'll say, well, the Yamnaya may have been in the Middle East. Yeah, they may have. And we're gonna go into that some of the Yamnaya actually did go into the Middle East when we get there. And I want to deal with how they overtook let me see what my brother D-Red is saying first before I do that. D-Red says it had to happen rapid because so-called white people haven't been around that long. Yeah, what white skinned people, R1B people have been around, but yeah, I get what you're saying. Don't let Darvis get on here and hear you saying that, brother.
You know exactly what I was thinking. That's why I started laughing.
And say, I told you white people only been here for 300 years. I'm like, God, please.
And then Jacob Israel gonna have a comment back on Facebook behind that.
Yeah, he gonna be like, yeah, see, I agree with him. All right, man. I think my brother James gonna appreciate this next article because this brother been bringing this thing out for a minute. All right, here it is. The story of the most murderous people of all time revealed in ancient DNA. You know what I'm saying? These were some head busters, man. These are some savages. I'm telling you, bro.
This is my battle axe culture, man.
You already know. These brothers were playing no games, bro. All right, so it says, starting 5,000 years ago, the Yamnaya embarked on a violent conquest of Europe. Now genetic analysis tells their tale for the first time. And the reason why we're covering this is because people say, how you know these people European? There's so much information on this, bro. It's a lot of information. You could just go into Google and just type in Yamnaya. You're going to find a plethora of source material to just go off of.
It's kind of simple. The fact that we built the phylogenetic tree kind of required us to study all this.
Facts.
The way we built the Table of Nations, it required us to do this.
Yeah, man. It says the iconic sarsen stones at Stonehenge were erected some 4,500 years ago. Although the monument's original purpose is still disputed, we now know that within a few centuries, it became a memorial to a vanished people. By then, almost every Briton from the south coast of England to the northeast tip of Scotland had been wiped out by incomers. It isn't clear exactly why they disappeared so rapidly, but a picture of the people who replaced them is emerging. The migrants' ultimate source was a group of livestock herders called the Yamnaya, who occupied the Eurasian steppe north of the Black Sea. And I hope you guys that are following, BHI and claiming this 12 tribes chart understand that when you're looking at that chart, you're really looking at Yamnaya descendants. That's what you're looking at.
Hey, hold up. The Northern Kingdom was spread to the to the steppes, man.
Oh, shit.
Remember, they got Ya in their name, too, the Yamnaya.
Oh, they got Ya, yeah. In the beginning and the end.
Yeah, so they doubled up. They doubled up on it. So you never know. That might be the people.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Maybe they was on to something, man. 12 tribes chart. It says the migrants' ultimate source was a group of livestock herders called the Yamnaya who occupied the Eurasian steppe north of the Black Sea and the Caucasus Mountains. And again, brother, this does not say the Sudan, because when your debate, Guerrilla Hebrews debate with Garfield, he said R comes to the Sudan. No information points towards that direction. Anyway, continue reading. It says Britain wasn't their only destination. Between 5,000 and 4,000 years ago, the Yamnaya and their descendants colonized swaths of Europe, leaving a genetic legacy that persists to this day. This is why majority of Europe, when you look at a heat map, majority of Europe, like majority of the male lines go back to R1b. It's because of the Yamnaya, right?
Yeah, because Britain was what before that? Cheddar Man I, right?
Yeah, I and G.
Oh, so the Nords or the Vikings were actually coming to try to take Britain back for the haplogroup I.
Yeah, I mean, it probably was because they got their butts whooped. It's like it could be looked at as a tale of vengeance.
That's why they came so mad and was killing everybody.
And was recruiting other people to come get to back them up, man.
Yep, they was going down to North Africa and everywhere.
Uh-huh. It says their arrival coincided with profound social and cultural changes. Burial practice shifted dramatically. So when you see what happened to the Americas, this had already happened to Europe. A foreign group came in and took over the entire continent of Europe. And then, years later, a foreign group that came from Europe came to the Americas and took over. They done this before. Like, these guys have practice. Well,
Thousands of years.
What AI said? What's that? The popular
Practice? You talking about practice?
It says right here, their arrival coincided with profound social and cultural changes. Burial practice shifted dramatically. A warrior class appeared, and there seemed to have been a sharp upsurge in lethal violence. I've become increasingly convinced there must have been a kind of genocide, says Christian Christiansen at the University of Gothenburg, Sweden. As he and others piece together the story, one question resounds: were the Yamnaya the most murderous people in history?
Yeah, because they were murderous in ancient times and ain't stopped yet.
He said they still got their foot on the gas, huh?
Yeah. You see what they did in South America?
Hey man, Yamnaya ain't nothing to play with, brother. Like, that's why I was telling, like, Guerrilla Hebrew, all the brothers got art, man. Tap into their history, man. Y'all some head busters. Say right here, before about 5,000 years ago, Neolithic Europe was inhabited by people much like those who raised Stonehenge. They were farmers when it urged to work together and build large stone structures. It looks like these people were quite communal, says Christensen, and the community spirit continued into the afterlife. Many of their megalithic monuments served as shared graves, some containing the remains of where's the rest of the article at? I guess that's it.
They did you greasy.
They cut me off, man. They didn't want me revealing this, man. Somebody made a phone call. Oh, you gotta subscribe. You gotta subscribe. All right, well, we ain't gonna do that, man. As y'all can see, y'all gotta adjust to that, right? The story of the most murderous people of all time revealed in ancient DNA. Hey, new scientists, y'all some suckers for that, man. Don't do that again.
Hey, but they could take that, the audience could take that piece of information that we did give them. There's a lot there, that you could go and start doing research on. The Yamnaya, do it yourself. You know what I mean? We present it to you. Go look it up. And if you find any discrepancies, come on back and talk to us.
I got an article where they deal with them, but it's later on down the line where they more merged with the Scandinavian culture.
Yeah, I mean, I'll read it.
Well, go ahead and go through yours. I'll grab it in a sec.
All right. So the next article I'm gonna go to is the Yamnaya genetic component in the populations of Europe. You know how we do. That's why they want to debate us, man. Because when we debate, we gonna keep recapitulating and reinforcing the premise. See, a lot of you guys, when y'all debate, y'all don't do that. Y'all go off topic. It's red herring, straw man argument. No, we're gonna keep hammering the topic home until our time's up.
And we actually
this is
researched the
stuff,
information.
and this is stuff we taking and we dusting off to bring back out. Like this is, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, we actually took the time to read and study the material so we can kind of talk about this shit all day.
Big facts, man.
well, if y'all didn't get this before when we first presented this some time ago, y'all gonna get it now.
Yeah, I mean, all they got to do is anybody who ain't took the time. I mean, it's like 3 versions of videos explaining who the sons of Noah are, as far as Shem being DE, Japheth being CF, and Ham being the A and B haplogroups. We kind of break that all down, and when we break that down, we go through all this.
Right. So let me show this real quick. We're gonna go in and out of this one here and bring this information out. It is something to consider, man. Girl Hebrew, like they at a crossroad right now. You're gonna have to either consider this, implement it some way. But like I said, to make it make sense, you're gonna have to get rid of the African component, man. Because a lot of these dudes is coming from the Yamnaya via Europe, right? So this is the article discussion on the origins of Indo-European languages explained by the migration of Yamnaya culture to the West. So again, these people didn't have nothing to do with Hebrew. It had nothing to do with Afro-Asiatic. It had nothing to do with, any of those ancient languages into Canaanite, none of that. Proto-Sinaitic. These people that you tap back into on your paternal side actually deal with the Indo-European languages, right? So check this out. You see the author, European Journal of Archaeology. It states here, it says, do the Indo-European language of Europeans stem from the steppe people of the Yamnaya culture? 2 studies published in Nature analyzed ancient DNA from archaeological sites and inferred that massive migrations at the transition Neolithic to the Bronze Age brought Indo-European languages from Eastern Europe steppes to the rest of Europe. The steppe Yamnaya culture appeared to be associated with the Proto-Indo-European language, while the origin of derivative language groups, Greek, Germanic, Slavic, Celtic, among others, was ascribed to the quoted Ware culture. We're going to deal with that here in a minute, too. The inferences coincide with the steppe hypothesis of the origins of the Indo-Europeans.
Hey, Jashu, real quick, let me read my article after you read the quarterware culture article, because it'll go right in order.
Okay. So it says this inference coincides with the steppe hypothesis of the origins of Indo-Europeans. There are, however, several rival hypotheses on this subject. The authors of these articles are aware of possible criticism and often qualify their inferences. For example, perhaps not all Indo-European people stem from Yamnaya, but some of them. But if it is only some of them, then it is not the cradle of Proto-Indo-European, only one of its subfamilies. If this were the case, the steppe hypothesis of the origin of Indo-Europeans is transformed to the steppe origin of, say, Indo-Iranians. That scenario is quite realistic, but it would be strange to suppose they're spread over Northern Europe. Furthermore, Indo-Iranian has nothing to do with most European languages. In common with many other archaeologists, I doubt that the discoveries in question reflect the direct migration from the Yamnaya to the quarterware cultures. Let me explain some of their differences. I have excavated on several Caucasian steppe barrows containing burials of Yamnaya culture. I know these burials well. They are usually primary in the barrow, sometimes secondary, with the strong skeletons laid on their backs with raised knees, and they are densely covered with red ochre. Men and women are buried in the same way. The graves usually contain handmade ceramics without handles, small, round, bottom, egg-shaped vessels, sometimes with a corded decoration. They are often contain hammer-headed pins made of horn and occasionally stone shaft hole, hammer axes, and bronze lance-shaped knives and awls. This culture is widely distributed on the steppe. On the western steppe, the Yamnaya is a mixed character, retaining its own distinctive way of interment and borrows, but adopting different local ceramics. It says, I was much involved in studying the quarterware and battle axe cultures. There you go, James. Battle axe. Since I derived from the Donetsk catacomb culture, more recent than Yamnaya. These are cultures of quite different kinds. Some quarterware cultures have borrows, some not. Men are laid to rest in positions that differ from those of women. The pottery is completely different. The main types of amphorae and beakers, and the most popular weapon is the stone battle hammer axe. So I'm going to get to an article that ties this together because I wanted to read this first, right? It says these cultures are widely distributed in the forest and meadow zone, but do not extend onto the steppe. I doubt that the Yamnaya people spoke the Proto-Indo-European language. And what follows, I discuss the problem with reference to the latest archaeological data that suggests how we can try to resolve the controversy using both genetic and archaeological findings. Breakup of the Indo-European language. It says on the basis of glottochronology and cladistics, all the acknowledged dates for the breakup of Proto-Indo-European languages are located within the 7th to 5th millennium BC. The median date, according to Gray and Atkinson in 2003, is 6700 BC. For the Burkhardt and colleagues, 2012-2013, it is 5500 BC. In Swadesh, it takes place 5000 BC. For Daibo and Cassian, it is 5000 BC. For Starlson, it lies around 4670 BC. For the Chang and colleagues, it is 4500 BC. The range by even if we expand the range by adding the confidence intervals, this cannot rejuvenate dates significantly. The millennium gap remains. Then it goes into the disappearance of the Yanaya culture. I'll let you guys read that. I want to go down here to a particular map. That's the reason why I grabbed this here. So this is the distribution of the Yanaya genetic component in the populations of Europe. The intensity of the color corresponds to the contribution of the component in various modern populations. The scale of intervals is to the right. The purple line represents the borders of the Yanaya area. The brown arrow shows the direction of migration postulated by the proponents of Yamnaya origin for the Indo-European of Europe. The red arrow shows the direction of movement of Yamnaya component in accordance with the gradients shown on this distribution. The map shows that Yamnaya genetic component is hardly Yamnaya origin. Rather, it is a more ancient component originating in the population of Northern Europe, from whence it spread both to the steppes and the cultures of Central Europe elsewhere. So if you look at this map, the purple region is where they're saying the origin of Yamnaya. And you can see the distributions, the share of Yamnaya genetic components in present-day Europeans, right? The red is the higher intensity, green is the lower intensity. And you can see they have a lot to do with Europe. So when these people say, hey, we shouldn't deal with DNA, well, how else are we supposed to uncover our ancient ancestral lines? How else are we supposed to do it? Just listen to a guy that's wearing a garment on the street with fringes and everything he says is true. We can't even question it. When we could actually find ancient skeletal remains to track the migratory routes and where these people were in times past.
I don't think it's just that. I think they know that a sizable portion of African Americans, Latinos, etc., had to descend from Europeans because they know them European men were sleeping with them slave women. They knew that, and they didn't want them brothers going and searching it out because they was going. A lot of people who had dedicated their lives to this gonna be ready to commit suicide when they find out they Esau, the man they've been claiming is Esau.
Facts. Y'all call Western Europeans Edomites, and the whole time you guys descend from Western Europeans. Right? Come on, man. We got to do better, man. Got to be more careful. All right, so here's the quarterware culture. Let's deal with this paper real quick. I won't be too long. All right, so quarterware cultural complexity uncovered using genomic and isotopic analysis from southeastern Poland. All right, it says during the final Enolithic, the quarterware complex emerged as chiefly identified by specific burial rites. This complex spanned most of Central Europe and exhibits demographic and a cultural association to the Yamnaya culture. So again, we're going to keep reading about these Yamnaya people. And I'm going to keep stressing the Yamnaya had R1b, M269. And as we can see, a lot of people on that chart has M269 or a variant or descendant of it. So we can actually rename, and reclassify the 12 tribes chart into the 12 tribes of Yamnaya. We can easily do that.
As soon as you pulled this, as soon as you pulled this article, this study up, I said, "Oh boy, here we go."
It says to study the genetic structure, kin relationship of the quarter-word complex communities, we sequenced the genomes of 19 individuals located in the heartland of the CWC complex region, southeastern Poland. Again, this ain't Sudan. The brother said that R started in Sudan. This is not Sudan. This is in Europe. It says whole genome sequence and strontium isotope data allowed us to investigate genetic ancestry, admixture, kinship, and mobility. The analysis showed a unique pattern not detected in other parts of Poland. Maternally, the individuals are linked to earlier Neolithic lineages, whereas the paternal side, a step ancestry is clearly visible. So the same thing we see in the Americas, this Western European uh, 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 influence is mainly on the paternal side. The same thing in Europe. The step ancestry where the United come from is mainly on the paternal side. Why? Because the men were coming in, sweeping in, conquering, killing, destroying, and pillaging, and taking the women and having children. Right? It's a common theme. It says we identified three cases of kinship. Of these, two were between individuals buried in a double graves. Interestingly, we identified kinship between a local and non-local individual, thus discovering a novel, previously unknown burial custom. Introduction. Neolithic Stone Age of continental Europe saw important demographic changes and population events, which in recent years have been demonstrated by numerous archaeogenomic studies. The genetic ancestry, affinity, and admixture process between human groups have been traced by analysis of individuals from different time periods and geographical contexts, which contextually are associated to cultural complexes with differing lifeways, burial customs, and material culture expressions. The identification of the demographic event and successful development associated with the neolization of Europe demonstrated the importance of mobility and migration in the process of population turnover and transitions toward changed lifeways. The process took different paths in different areas of Europe, which is evident in the admixture patterns between hunter-gatherer and the farming groups, but also between farming and pastoralist groups, depending on the time period. The significant transitional process around 3000 BCE in the appearance of the Pontic steppe Yamnaya cultural complex in Eastern Europe is associated with a wave of migration from the East that had marked impact on the demographic steppe ancestry component, cultural and social as well linguistic development in the 3rd millennium BCE. So what's important to note, a lot of these people, like when you look at the 12 tribes chart, a lot of these people claim the 12 tribes chart is telling you who Jacob is, and these people actually come from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But really your ancestry doesn't even go back to the Levant during the formative years of these ancient Semitic people, and actually goes back into Europe via the Yamnaya, as we're reading today, that come from the Pontic steppe, right? It says the appearance of Yamnaya, 3100 3000 BCE complex in southern Europe, roughly coincides with the appearance of the corded word complex around 2900 2800 BCE, further to the north. Earlier archaeogenomic analysis have shown that the CWC individuals exhibit steppe ancestry. Contemporaneous individuals analyzed from this region, i.e., Central Europe, have however shown a varying degree of steppe ancestry. This component has not been demonstrated among individuals associated with the globaler and four culture. Although our knowledge about the demographic prehistory in continental Europe has increased immensely over the last 5 years, the regional resolution of events is insufficient, and thus our understanding of the social process is still lacking. The population dynamics interpretations of archaeogenomic data of the Yamnaya and corded word complexes and their relationship have been intensely debated and reviewed. Around 5400 BCE, farming was introduced into central Poland, which coincided with the appearance of the linear pottery culture (LBK) complex, marking the transition to the earlier Neolithic period. The hunter-gatherer population living in the neighborhood of the LBK area upheld their lifeways, and for almost a millennium, the dispersal of Neolithic lifeways halted. However, there were evidently contacts between farming and hunter-gatherer groups seen in admixture patterns. These relations are clearly visible in the Kujawaski group of lingual complex found in the region of Kuyavia, which for a long time was a northern limit of the post-LBK farming communities. During the next millennium, from around 4000 BCE, i.e. the Middle Neolithic, the frontal beaker beaker culture, TRB, emerges from the Neolithic lifeways dispersed in the northern parts of Central Europe, including parts of Scandinavia, and now to the most of the Polish area. Individuals of TRB context in the Poland exhibit admixture of the hunter-gatherer population, which were most likely linked to the Western European hunter-gatherer group. Around 3100 BCE, the TRB manifestation in Poland declined with the appearance of the Baden culture and the globular amphora culture, which replaced the early TRB complex in many areas of Poland. The GAC was a rather short-lived phenomenon, and after 2800 BCE, the Quarter War complex manifestations became dominant and continued for another 500 years before the complex disappears. And we know why it remained dominant, because these people, again, like we read earlier, a warrior class hit the scene. It arose. This warrior class came in and conquered and dominated. And
they had farming.
Right, and they had farming too, which again is successful, is needed for successful population growth. And now they're saying that the milk they drunk, there's new articles talking about the milk they drunk was a force. The fact that they were able to digest milk. What were you saying, Sean?
No, I just said sustainability.
Yeah,
with the agriculture, and even employing and using their horses for milk.
Facts. It's an individual, the GAC and CWC have very different ancestry. Individuals from the CWC context of Poland exhibit a marked input from the Eastern Yamnaya steppe pastoralists, whereas the individuals of the GAC complex hardly exhibit any steppe ancestry, right? It says around 2400 BCE, the Bell Beaker culture complex enters the region from the southwest, and yet another major genetic component is added to the local population. In southeastern Poland, the BBC disappears around the 2200 BCE period. The development in Poland clearly shows the extent of the admixture that has taken place in continental Europe and the importance of mobility and demographic and social developments. Again, we're still talking about Europe, still talking around Poland, Eastern Central Europe. None of this is going back to Sudan like the brother suggested in his video, in his debate with Garfield. None of it. This ancestry is going back into the continental Europe. It says here, by identifying, here goes the juicy part right here, the DNA. Shout out to Gorilla Hebrew and shout out to Teo, because we're going to be mentioning both of these lineages here in this paragraph.
It's funny, isn't it funny how they seem to follow each other around?
They got close family bonds, man.
Yeah, man.
And that's why Teo jumped on that post, trying to pull Gorilla Hebrew and SICARRI into their little circle.
They said Europeans stand together, huh?
Hey, listen.
It
the
says
family
here,
that wars together stays together.
A family that wars together. It says here, by identifying mtDNA, that's your maternal, that's mitochondrial DNA, that's your maternal side, and then you got your Y chromosome DNA, which is your paternal side. You brother say you are who your father is, right? You are who your father is. That's what you guys go out there and preach. So why not live by it, right? Why not apply that here?
Why not believe it for real?
Yeah, why? Yeah, exactly. Now your belief is shaken in that because you took a DNA test and it said R1B.
Hey, look, shoot, they believe God made us, but they don't believe God made DNA though.
Right. It's silly. It says by identifying mtDNA, Y chromosome DNA, and nuclear DNA, ancestry, origin,
signatures in DNA, they'll run with that point. I've heard a bunch of Black Hebrew Israelites run with that point, but then don't follow DNA though.
Yeah, man, they keep contradicting themselves, man. It says here, ancestry, origin, and admixture can be ascertained. Look what they said. While studying DNA, look what we can learn. We can learn ancestry, we can learn about your origin, and we can learn who you admix with. They said that's going to be ascertained by looking at mtDNA, Y chromosome DNA, and nuclear DNA. So all you people saying DNA doesn't matter or trying to get around DNA, the facts are here, man. You had Teo trying to say you can't use this DNA for ancestry. Yes, you can. Right? Let me keep reading. It said it has been shown that Yamnaya pastoralis contributed Y chromosome R1A and R1B haplogroups to continental Europe. So if you guys, my computer's freezing up on me. So if you guys do a DNA test, and these haplogroups go back, most likely you got it through Europe through the Yamnaya.
And go on in and tell us who heads they were busting.
It has been shown that the Yamnaya pastoralis contributed Y chromosome R1A, R1B haplogroups to continental Europe, almost entirely replacing the previously widespread G2A haplogroup.
Hey, now look here, Teo twins. You come trying to save this nigga, but he been busting your ancestors' heads for thousands of years, man. He your oppressor, brother, too.
Hey, Amir, right. They can just say this. Because listen, these people said that Israelites ruled in Europe for 1,000 years in the medieval times. But we look at these people that ruled Europe during the medieval times, they would most likely be R1B and R1A, right? With a little G sprinkled in there, a little I sprinkled in there, right? So what are you saying? Are you saying these European people are the Israelites? If so, then you need to stand on it. And yeah, they were going through wiping out G2A, which shows and proves that G2A has been in Europe for a long time. So that's probably how you guys got G2A. A European migrant came over here, probably somewhere in the South, had sex with some women, had a progeny, and the progeny created you, which that progeny probably kept mixing within the Creole or admix communities of Louisiana until they got to the tail twins, right? And produced the tail twins. That's how y'all got G2A. But it stems back to Europe. We know you were there. The Yamnaya ran into your kinsmen. The Yamnaya ran into your ancestors, had a war with them, wiped them out, damn near wiped them out, man. So you guys have been in Europe for a long time. The Yamnaya ran into your ancestors, man. And it wasn't pretty. So I'm going to read it again. It says again, it has been shown that Yamnaya pastoralis contributed Y chromosome R1A and R1B haplogroups to continental Europe, almost entirely replacing the previously widespread G2A haplogroup. And we've done shows. We showed you that G2A was in Neolithic, the Stone Age France, Neolithic Iberia, Neolithic Germany. It was all over. All right. It says the mtDNA contribution of Yamnaya to CWC individuals is associated with the appearance of U2 and W haplogroups. This large-scale contribution close to complete replacement is very evident among CWC individuals that have retained very little genetic ancestry from the Mesolithic hunter-gatherer and early Neolithic farmer groups. The study of individuals associated with the CWC complex detected ancestry and admixture patterns with the hunter-gatherer groups, individuals of steppe culture groups such as the Afana, Sivo, and Yamnaya complexes. Moving forward in time, evidence of admixture with individuals of succeeding BBC complex appears, suggesting that this region of prehistoric Europe was an important social arena and melting pot of human genetics from both the East and West. Archaeogenomic analysis have the best possibilities to decipher demographic processes, and the individuals associated to the CWC complex provide important clues to development of the third millennium BCE, right? So, you know, when we're looking at the Middle East, when we're looking at Akkad, and we're looking at the Ebla, the Eblites, when they're starting to come on the scene, your ancestors were actually in Europe getting busy with these ancient hunter-gatherers and early European farmers, which had G2A, some eye markers, right, which associate with hunter-gatherers. They was getting busy killing and pillaging and taking over that region, while Shemites were already, you know, farming in the Middle East. They were already there. So you have different ancestral lines. So you got to make it make sense. What are we really saying here? All right. Are you saying that Israelites spread through Europe and conquered Europe in the third millennium BC, or people that are ancestral to the Israelites? We got to make it make sense, man. You're right, Ramon. They can use DNA to lock your ass up quick. right? But you guys don't want to use DNA for its primary purpose, which is its ancestry. Exactly. This is all about edifying and education, right? So I wanted to read that part, show you guys the coded word culture and what haplogroups were involved with it. Is clearly R1b is there. Um, let me get the paper my brother sent me. Let me see this one. Let me
in the
see.
private chat.
Is it a PDF?
Yeah, it should be a PDF.
All right, I
You
think
know, I
this is
prefer the
it.
PDF than the website thing. I don't know why.
All right, let's get it. Genomic ancestry of scan. They're gonna really hate this, man. We giving them European ancestry all over, man. Poland, Germany, Iberia, and now we're gonna throw Scandinavia in the mix.
We got to hit
Who would
all
have
of Western Europe. You know what I'm saying? We got to get it all.
who would have thought we would have ever knew?
The genomic ancestry of Scandinavian battle axe culture people and their relation to the broader coded word horizon. We just got done reading coded word. We see who was related to that. We seen the Yanaya coming in, laying a smackdown on G2A, the ancestors of Teo. You understand? Um, so let's
Hey,
go back.
yo, G2A Eternal Whipping Boys.
It says the genomic ancestry of Scandinavian battle axe culture people and their relation to the broader coded word horizon. It says the Neolithic period is characterized by major cultural transformations and human migrations with lasting effects across Europe. Again, we're still talking about Europe. You notice we never dipped into Africa. You know, we never dipped into East Africa. It just doesn't take us to South Africa. It doesn't take us to Western Central Africa. This has nothing to do with Nigeria. So, you know, Teo, like, it's gonna hurt your heart, man. But your ancestry don't go there. And if you know, if you might have some that spilled out and leaked out over there, but for the most part, these people are in Europe, right? Most of your backdrop to your peoples, man, to your ancestry, is pointing us to this area. It says here to understand the population dynamics in Neolithic Scandinavia in the Baltic Sea area, we investigate the genomes of individuals associated with the battle axe culture, a Middle Neolithic complex in Scandinavia resembling the continental quarterware culture. And we already read about that. That was largely R1A, R1B, right? It says we sequenced 11 individuals dated to 3,330 to 1665 calibrated before Common Era, BCE, from modern day Sweden, Estonia, and Poland. 3 of the individuals were from the CWC context and 2 from the Central Swedish BAC burial. By analyzing the genomes together with the previously published data, we show that the BAC represents a group different from the Neolithic populations in Scandinavia, revealing stratification among cultural groups similar to the continental CWC. The BAC associated individuals display ancestry from the Pontic Caspian steppe herders, as well as smaller components originating from hunter-gatherers and early Neolithic farmers. Thus, the steppe ancestry seen in the Scandinavian BAC individuals can be explained only by the migration into Scandinavia. Furthermore, we highlight the reuse of megalithic stone tombs of the earliest funnel beaker culture by people related to the BAC.
Which you
The
spoke about the
BAC,
bigger cultures earlier too.
yeah. So mainly you're going to talk about the coded word culture. You're going to talk about the funnel beaker culture. You're going to talk about the LBK culture, and you're also going to discuss the battle axe culture. All these things are relative when we're discussing the history of R1B. It says here the BAC groups likely mixed with resident Middle Neolithic farmers, for example, the FBC, without substantial contributions from Neolithic foragers. Introduction. The influential wave of migration into Central Europe from Pontic Caspian steppe occurred circa 3000 before Common Era. The Yamnaya expansion brought new genetic ancestry to Neolithic Europe, which still today is a part of the genetic variation. Northwest of the Yamnaya complex, we find the Cordillera culture complex that were distributed over Central and Northern Europe between 3000, 2800, and 2300, 2000 BCE. The impacting Yamnaya migration on the formation of the CWC complex continues to be debated, with comments and genetic signals of migration and admixture have been found in Central Europe, Scandinavia, and to the east of the Baltic Sea. However, the development took different paths in different regions, and it's not clear exactly how the migrations affected the demographic development and population history at the fringes of the European continent. In Sweden, the CWC complex has been labeled the Sweden-Norwegian boat axe or battle axe culture. The material manifestation of battle axe culture starting around 3000 2800 BC was distributed in Scandinavia up to the modern-day middle Sweden and southern Norway, and on the eastern side of the Baltic Sea up to the southwestern parts of Finland. I'm still waiting until we start reading about Africa. I'm still waiting on that, and we have it. It says how the BAC and CWC complex dispersed into the Baltic countries in the Finno-Scandinavia has been extensively debated, especially in association with the process of migration or cultural diffusion and local development. Early archaeological research viewed the BAC CWC complex as society with common cultural and social practices and stressed the uniformity of burial customs, pottery design, typology, and boat-shaped battle axes. Recently, it has been argued that these views were too simplistic and regional patterns and traits within the BAC CWC complex have been highlighted. While previous archaeogenetic research has studied individuals connected with the BAC CWC cultural complexes in some regions around the Baltic Sea, the character of the migration patterns and the temporal and regional dynamics within the CWC area, as well as the BAC introduction into Scandinavia, are yet to be explored. To achieve a better understanding of these population dynamics in the BAC introduction to Scandinavia, we investigated demographic development in the CWC area around the Baltic Sea in the 3rd millennium BCE by sequencing DNA from 11 prehistoric individuals from modern-day Sweden, Estonia, and Poland. By comparing the genetic profiles of the newly sequenced individuals to the individuals from different regions of the CWC area and from different kinds of cultural contexts, we investigate ancestry and admixture to paint a more detailed picture of the demographic processes that took place across the CWC area, with a specific focus on the onset and subsequent dynamics of the BAC in Scandinavia. Culture FBC, hold on, let me make sure I'm reading this right. Oh, missed that part. Results. We generated and analyzed genome sequence shotgun data from 11 individuals originating in northeastern Europe, dated to 3300, 1600 BCE. So again, I want to I'll put emphasis on this. We don't need somebody with a 12 chart and a prophecy and all this other stuff to determine where these people come from and where you come from. We have dead bodies that have been found in these regions. They have took these bodies, exhumed the bodies, and sequenced their DNA. And that DNA is matching up with you guys. So we know you guys share a common ancestry. You stem from these populations, right?
And these populations pre-exist the nation of Israel so far. We haven't found one that's after the nation of Israel.
Facts, man. Facts. This beats your, oh, I'm going to give an interpretation of the verse and say it applies to natives, Hispanics, and African Americans. This beats this by a long shot. This is actual evidence. This is coming from skeletal remains. Right?
The boy D-Red gave a 12 cultures chart.
Yeah, D-Red. Wow. Nice.
12 European cultures chart.
Wow.
The Yamnaya, the Bell Beakers, Battle Axe, the Corded-Ware, the Funnel Beakers, the Urnfield, the Biden, don't I say that, the Abashevo, the other ones, the Pitted War.
Yeah, the Pitted Ware.
This is pretty much what y'all, when you look at that 12 chart, you start tracing these lines and start reading about each line that came over from Europe. You're going to run into this, man. This is what your chart is really saying. This is what it's saying, man. D-Red is on point. Amir says, here's a debate I think will be entertaining. Tail versus GRLA Hebrew. Haplogroup RG, which is Israelite? That'd be funny as hell.
Well, I don't know. Haplogroup R been whooping G ass for thousands of years. I don't know if we want to set them up.
I think R gonna win that one. Yeah, I think R. I got my money on R.
They won Western Europe.
Hey, man, these niggas is gonna have to change their doctrine because Teo them are saying that Jerusalem is in West Africa. They're gonna have to move it to Poland, man, to make it make sense. They're gonna have to move it
Belgium.
to Belgium or something, man. You're gonna have to say Jerusalem is actually in continental Europe, you know what I'm saying, to make to line up with your lineage, brother.
Man,
It said,
we was running Europe until Gorilla Hebrew and his goddamn ancestors came through and wiped us out.
right, they really was some gorillas, man. That name is apt. They really was some gorillas, bro. He had the whole city on smash. Ramal Yahoo says, I want to know how can Jerusalem be in West Africa? You got East Africa saying it's in East Africa. I mean, they sound more believable than Jerusalem being in West Africa. Just a random thought. I mean, the whole thing, these brothers going back to the Pontic Steppe. Maybe Jerusalem is in the Pontic Steppe. Maybe it's in the Eurasian steppes, man.
Off the Baltic Sea. Maybe the Baltic Sea is really the Red Sea.
Facts, man.
Maybe the Balkan bully know where it's at. Where it's at, bro?
Yeah, where the Balkan bully at, man?
It's gotta be somewhere in that region, bro, to make it all make sense. And then I had an article here. I forgot about it, but there's an article that R1B and Q was running together, so it makes sense because you got the Native Indians with the Q, and then you got the Hispanics and Mestizo population with the R. So you got that all in the chart, man. It makes sense. The Yamnaya thing is making sense, brother. Let me read this. It says 11.
And we know Q was still on the steeps too, because it's part of the Khazars.
Yep.
Q.
Yep, Q was still there. So Q and R was running together too. Now we fast forward to the modern times. Q and R is running together on that chart. So look, man, they took 11 individuals.
It's prophecy.
It's prophecy. They took 11 individuals. They sequenced their DNA, and we know what their DNA came back as. Right. We don't need no magical REI 12 tribes chart prophecy or nothing like that. We know.
Yeah, this is their biggest day right there. Individuals from the Pontic Caspian Steppe associated with the Yamnaya culture carry mostly R1b and not R1a haplotype.
Yep. It says 5 individuals were excavated from the CWC context, 2 from the Blaskowo, Poland, 1 from Karlova, Estonia, and 2 from the CWC related BAC burial Bergsgraven in Linköping, Sweden. The 6 additional individuals were from other archaeological contexts in Sweden, 5 from the megalithic burial structures primarily associated with the funnel beaker culture, and 1 from the pitted war culture context. Radiocarbon dating showed that 3 individuals from the can't really pronounce that, but megalithic tomb derived from later burials were 2860 to 2500 BCE, overlaps with the time interval of the BAC. And
hey, if you want to get ready to go into your next article, I'll just sum it up. Out of all 11 bodies, they I think 2 of them, they got the Y chromosome on them. They were R1A, so they're more likely associated with the Cold War. Is a chart down. If you go down, there's a chart down there.
Yeah, man.
All 11 of them.
Yeah, man. I can't pronounce a lot of these European, you know what I'm saying, ancient European names. It tripped me up, man. Like,
you're gonna have to ask D-Red. D-Red seems to know all of them. He got the chart already set up.
No, I'm gonna ask Gorilla Hebrew because he can tap into his ancestry spiritually. They always talk about it's a spirit bearer witness. You know what I'm saying? So, that brother might have a better understanding of this than I do.
Maybe that's why he's so aggressive, man. Them R1Bs aggressive as hell.
Well, yeah, it talks about the 5 individuals were genetically determined to be males. It gives you the Y chromosome, as we just read here. Let me read this. It says the 2 males in our data set belong to Y chromosome R1A haplogroups, as do the majority of the males in previously published CWC context. Go down here. While a smaller fraction belong to R1B lineages, The R1A haplogroup has not been found among Neolithic farmer population nor in hunter-gatherer groups in Central and Western Europe, but it has been reported from Eastern European hunter-gatherers and Neolithic groups. And the reason why this is huge too, because we also see R1B, VA8 among some of these hunter-gatherers or early farmer groups too. And we discussed that in prior episodes. It's individuals from the Pontic Caspian steppe associated with the Yamnaya culture carry mostly R1B and not R1A haplotypes, right? So, I mean, it's a sealed deal on that, man. It's a sealed deal. You said there's a chart down here?
Yeah, it's a chart because there are 5 males, but I don't think they can get the haplogroups of 2 of them. Because you see dash marks where they didn't get the haplogroups of 2 of the males.
Yeah, let me
Let's say NA.
There we go. Boom. So this one right here has the R1A individuals, then all the mitochondrials. You see a lot of U, see some N there. That's the battle axe culture. You see R1A there. The CWC, see R1A. Oh, you see IJ in Sweden. IJ in Sweden. So shout out to all the people that's vying for the IJs and the Js.
Kevin G, Nas with their eyes.
Yeah, big facts, man. Big facts.
Then you got another R1A at the bottom.
And look at this. Sweden, Estonia, Sweden, and Poland, like was said earlier in the article. Again, I don't see Eastern Africa. I don't see Ethiopia. I don't see Somali. And I don't see Egypt. I don't see Sudan here. What's going on? Like a lot of this ancestry is pointing back to Central Eastern Europe, right? Amir says, speaking of which, Jacobo was live earlier, was referencing traders who are complicit in fighting against receiving the inheritance, one of which was referencing more. The rest you can guess. You know what's funny? We're giving y'all inheritance, right? It's from the Pontic steppes. It's from continental Europe. We're not against receiving the inheritance. I think you guys want to take other people's inheritance because we can show you
trying to do. They culture vultures.
Culture vultures, man. Come on, man.
Don't be ashamed of your forefathers. Embrace your forefathers. They were obviously great conquerors.
Yeah, don't the scripture say honor your mother and your father? Don't the scripture say that?
Doesn't it curse those who revile their mother and father?
Oh man.
Ooh.
Yeah, you got
maybe that's how GRLA end up with R1B for all that reviling his mama.
Orthodox Moore said, "Who said more?"
That boy
pop out like the boogeyman.
Hey, man, Amir. But the thing about it is, when we look at their ancestral lines and we study their paternal ancestry, it don't go back to the places they claim it go back to. They keep talking about West and Central Africa. We're reading all about their ancestry is in the continental Europe. And they want to say
most of the people who got the land in 1948 are R1B.
Yeah, not Netanyahu. So if we're giving away our inheritance to quote unquote 1948 peoples, like they said, and some of them got R1B and G2A. So if we give it to you, aren't we doing the same shit? If we give you the inheritance, like you guys are saying, and you got the same damn paternal ancestry as a Netanyahu, as the people that's in that land, aren't we doing the same thing? Furthermore, many of those people have more of an ancestral tie to those lands than you do. Because many of those people don't have Pontic steppe ancestry. A lot of those people have ancient Levantine ancestry, a considerable amount. You wish you had that much ancestry going back to that land. You don't.
Yeah, we can't find no G during Bronze Age or Iron Age Levantine population. We ain't found it yet.
Yeah, we find them in the Iron 3. The Iron 3 about 500 BC because some of them lineages from the Caucasus had leaked down into that region. Facts, we do. We know more about their ancestors than they do. because they ignoring their ancestry. We were actually elucidating it and bringing it to the light, right? So let's talk about this real quick. Hold on, let's get off of this. I want to, and I'm gonna let this be the last one, or I'm gonna go into David Wright because he just gives a very simplified version of this in his book, The People in Europe. So we know what haplogroups are associated with this, mainly R1b and some R1a. Right, that's the ancestry coming in. The people that was in Europe prior to them getting there were mainly G2A. You had some I markers too. Shout out to Cheddarman, right? So there's no escaping this. And you have the audacity to talk about the 1948 people. Many of those people have ancient roots and tie. Even when we talk about the J markers, we know they came from the Caucasus, but they came there early on and admixed with those people. You can't even say y'all did that. Not in large numbers, but you want to throw shots at them. And you a whole goddamn European, man. You understand? And we can settle these disputes. We can all get in the ring and we can do this scholastically. And I promise you, you guys are going to get y'all ass whooped. Because you're going to be dealing with faulty premises built off a 30, 40-year-old prophecy by REI, while we're going to be dealing with the up-to-date science. Right? So check this out, man. Let me go to this last article about the sea peoples. Let's talk about the sea peoples real quick. I'm gonna deal with this article, and yeah, facts more. Let's just debate it, man. None of you niggas want to debate, bro. So this is an article on Indo-European.eu, right? Indo-European, right? Not nothing to deal with Africans. Indo-European. It talks about the sea peoples behind Philistines were Aegeans, including R1b and M269 lineages. So this is how you get
That
your
was a nice
connection.
little map, though. Roll back to that map.
All right.
I'm sorry. I just want to.
No. You got it. Good. You got
it. All right, go ahead, finish.
Man, they all over the place. Look, man. It says here we report. Let me read up here. New open access paper, Ancient DNA sheds light on the genetic origins of early Iron Age Philistines by Feldman et al. Science Advances, 2019. It says here we report genome-wide data from human remains excavated at the ancient seaport of Ascalon, forming a genetic time series encompassing the Bronze to Iron Age transition. We find that all three Ascalon populations derive most of their ancestry from local Levantine gene pool. The early Iron Age population was distinct in its high genetic affinity to European-derived populations and in high variation by the affinity. So the ancient Middle East did have a component coming from Europe. And we're going to see what that is. It says suggesting that a gene flow from a European-related gene pool entered Ascalon either at the end of the Bronze Age or the beginning of the Iron Age. Of the available contemporaneous populations, we model the Southern European gene pool as the best proxy for the incoming gene flow. Last, we observed the SS European affinity of the early Iron Age individuals does not persist in the later Iron Age population, suggesting that it had a limited genetic impact on the long-term population structure of the people in Ascalon. And then it gives you the PCA. It says here genetic discontinuity between the Bronze Age and the early Iron Age people of Ascalon in comparison to Ascalon late Bronze Age and for Ascalon Iron Age individuals from the falling Iron Age 1 period are on average shifted along the PC1 toward the European client and are more spread out along PC1 overlapping the Ascalon late Bronze Age on our extreme and with the Greek late Bronze Age on the other. Similarly,
Gorilla Hebrew ancestors could have been Philistine converts.
Yeah, if you want to tie it to the Middle East, that's how you have to do it, brother. We have like, listen, man, my people go back to the Philistines. You know what I'm saying? You gotta tap into that energy. All right, hold on. Let me blow this up a little bit. All right, so it says similarity genetic clustering assigns the Ashkelon Iron Age with an average 14% contribution from a cluster maximized in the Mesolithic European hunter-gatherers labeled Western hunter-gatherer. This component is occurred only in a small proportion of in early and Bronze Age Levantine populations, 2 to 9%. In agreement with the PCA, the admixture results only European hunter-gatherers, including Western hunter-gatherers, and populations sharing a history of genetic admixture with European hunter-gatherers. For example, European Neolithic and post-Neolithic populations produce significantly positive F4 statistics, suggesting that compared to Ashkelon Late Bronze Age and the Iron Age has additional European-related ancestry. So when we look at this information, we could see that there was an introgression of Europeans into Ashkelon, which is in the Levant, right? We can see it coming in there. But it's still, what is that saying? That Europeans got there. And what marker is associated with that? We've been reading about it all night. R1BM269, the same marker we see amongst many of the mestizos, the same marker we see in the Western Europe, same marker we see associated with Yamnaya. That 12 tribes chart is basically a chart of Yamnaya peoples, man. That's basically what it is. Yamnaya related people, by and large. It says the best supported one infers the Ashkelon Iron Age one derives around 43% of ancestry from Greek Bronze Age Crete Bronze Age, and the rest from the Ashkelon Late Bronze Age population. Only the models including the Sardinian, Crete, Iberian as the candidate population provided as a good fit. So that's why they say Southern Europe. Crete, Sardinia, and Iberia. I was arguing with somebody on Clubhouse, and he was trying to separate Greece and Crete from Europe. And we've been knowing for years that when they say the first civilization in Europe, they always point to Greek. But now y'all want to tear Greece from Europe because y'all don't want to be considered Europeans. And I'm discussing a white Hebrew Israelite on Clubhouse. He doesn't want to be associated with Europe, but his genes go back to Europe, right? It says here, we know that because our geographical and temporal sampling gaps, population that potentially contributed to European-related admixture in the Ashkelon Iron Age could be missing from the data set. The transient impact of the European-related gene flow in the Ashkelon gene pool. It says here, the Ashkelon Iron Age individuals are intermediate along PC1 between the Ashkelon Late Bronze Age ones and on the earlier Bronze Age Levantines in the West Eurasia PCA. Notably, despite being chronologically closer to the Ashkelon Iron Age 1, Ashkelon Iron Age 2 individuals positioned closer on average to the earlier Bronze Age individuals. Then he has the chart from the study here. And you can see R1 is in the mix and the Iron Age samples, right? So you do find an Iron Age sample, R1BM269, in Ashkelon, which will put them in a Levant. So if these brothers want to tap into that Middle Eastern history, this is how they have to do it. But it's not escaping their European ancestry because this individual that had that R1B is clearly coming or stemming from Southern Europe. That's what this article is talking about. It says here the transient excess of European-related genetic affinity in Ashkelon Iron Age 1 can be explained by two scenarios. The early Iron Age European-related genetic component could have been diluted by either the local Ashkelon population to the undetectable level at the time of the later Iron Age individuals, or by a gene flow from a population outside of Ashkelon introduced during the final stages of the early Iron Age or the beginning of the later Iron Age. By modeling Ashkelon Iron Age 2 as a mixture of Ashkelon Iron Age 1 and earlier Bronze Age Levantines, late period Egyptian, we infer a range of 7 to 38% contribution from Ashkelon Iron Age 1, although no contribution cannot be rejected because of the limited resolution of the differences between Bronze Age, Iron Age ancestry in this model. All right, let's get to the prize right here. Haplogroup R1B M269 in the Aegean. I already predicted this relationship of Philistines and Aegeans, Greeks in particular, months ago. Based on linguistics, archaeology, and phylogeography, although it was and it still is yet unclear if the paternal lineage might have come from other nearby populations or might be descended from common Anatolians. Instead, given the known intense contacts between the Halatic and West Anatolian groups. And he gives you a map of the sea peoples in the Aegean, right? Go down. The deduction process of Greek connection was quite simple. The Paleo-Balkan populations, we know that R1b Z2103 expanded with the Yamna, which is Yamnaya, right? Including West Yamna settlers, they appear in the Vus Dol, which means they form part of the earliest expansion waves of the Yamnaya settlers into the Carpathian Basin. They also appear scattered among the Belbekers. Apart from dominate East Yamna and Afansevo, which suggests that they were possibly one of the most successful lineages during the late Repin, early Yamna expansion, right? And what marker it is? R1b Z2103, which is a descendant of M269. It says the step ancestry associated with I2AL699 samples from Balkans Bronze Age people may have also been associated with recent Bronze Age expansions, and this haplogroup's presence among the modern Balkan people may also suggest that expanded Paleo-Balkan languages. Nevertheless, we don't know which specific lineages and step ancestors they represent, sadly. These samples may be well-related remnants of previous Balkan populations like the Cernovoda or Acero, because there has been no peer-review attempt at distinguishing. Again, I got to call these brothers up to tap into their ancestry to pronounce this for me. From the set in the stone, from Yamnaya-related populations, and some groups that are associated with this ancestry, like corded ware, are known to be culturally distinct from Yamnaya. In any case, Proto-Greeks from the Southern Balkans and related groups are probably going to show based on Paleo-Balkan substrate, the pre-Greek substrate, and on available Mycenaean samples, a process of decreasing proportion of R1b Z2103 lineages relative to local ones and relatively similar client of the Yamnaya, East European early European farmer ancestry from northern and southern areas, at least in periods close to the Yamnaya expansion. The finding of archaic R1BL389 and R1AM198 subclades among modern Greeks and the likely Neolithic origin of these paternal lineages around the Caucasus suggests that their presence in Greece may be from any of the more recent migration that happened between Anatolia and Balkans, especially from the common area, rather than Indo-Anatolian migrations, probably very, very recently. And you can see the Bell Beaker here, Italy. This is all Europe, man. Your history, your ancestry is going back to Europe. That's where it's going back to. You said that
other
messed
map
up.
you had. That other map you had was prettier.
It was prettier.
on the other article. It's like 4 or 5 articles we read with the same thing over there. What y'all need? What else y'all need? You didn't go find that many more sources.
What more you want from us, man? What more you want from us? Let's just stop it right there.
Oh my goodness.
We got the Savant from the Levant. What's going on, brother? I think we got some people in here. Maybe y'all upset with the information. Y'all can discuss and tell us where we're wrong. I'll put the link right there. Anybody can join.
Shalom, y'all. Shalom.
Shalom.
Sorry, I missed it.
What's happening?
None much. Just recording and editing videos, you know.
Hey, what you think about the Yamnaya, man, and their impact on Europe?
Yeah, the Yamnaya pretty much formed Europe. It's the reason why Europe is the way it is today. It's because of them. They're a very interesting ancient people group, and they're the forefathers of modern day Europeans.
And what does that say about people that have those markers in the Americas, like African Americans, Hispanics, mestizos, Native Americans that all have like R1b variants? What does that say to them and their ancestry?
They better claim that European ancestry. That's what it means. You better be proud of it. Don't curse your ancestors.
And that was off the top of the dome.
But type in on YouTube Yamnaya. There's like tons of YouTube videos on the Yamnaya. Like if these people want to learn about them, type it in. I mean, watch a couple of videos.
Look, man, we'll show them the map.
What'd you say?
Show them this map of the distribution of this R lineage in Europe, because people keep trying to say and run away from it being in Europe or being associated with Europe.
You know, even in David Reich's new paper, he touches on Proto-Indo-Europeans. Did you read
Y'all
that?
some lies. It's from Sudan.
It's from Here go the distribution map, man. How do you get around this? But this makes sense, bro, because they said that the ancient Israelites ruled Europe for 1,000 years in the Middle Ages.
Wait, what?
One West teaches that ancient Israelites ruled the continent of Europe for 1,000 years during the Middle Ages.
I don't know about that.
But look at the map.
According to the Jewish people, they're getting persecuted in Europe. They're getting killed and all that type of stuff. Ghettos and all that.
Look at
I
Iberia.
don't know how
man.
they're ruling when they're living in ghettos.
Wait, what was that? You said they were living in ghettos and being persecuted in Europe?
Yep.
So who fit the curses?
Oh, snap.
Yo, look at this, man. 80%, man. Come on, bro. 70% up here.
Yo,
That's
these dudes
Britain.
gonna send an assassination squad after us soon, yo.
That's Britain. Look at that. 80% R1B, 70%. Come on, man.
They gotta get rid of us.
Iberia, 80, 70%, 55% in Spain. Look at that, man.
It's too much information at one time. We had to dust this off to give it back to y'all.
So where do these people come when they have these markers? Where are they most likely deriving their ancestry from? If you have a downstream marker M269, most likely you come from one of these regions, man.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that so hard to accept? That's what I'm trying
because my doctrine say I'm Esau.
Shouldn't have made that doctrine up.
Too much information.
Information overload, right?
Oh my goodness.
I got there's a couple of videos I can probably show here in a second. Like maybe one video, not like a couple, but there's some pretty decent videos on the Imnaya. Share my screen really quick. Actually,
my job has been my job is completed. Well, I got one brother to see it. That's it. All I need is one brother to see it, man.
I mean, it's working. You know, they paid attention. We've been at this for a minute, you know, trying to fight in the good fight, you know, and this is just against the people that most of Israel will call our people, you know. But then when we go, they haven't been in the fights with us in those rooms on Clubhouse and seeing how we get down with them European Jews. We go into battle with them and walk out like literally we moving into a larger, not just unscathed. We coming out with allies. You expecting us to get demolished in that room?
I mean, look at
our
the show.
Information is so tight. The information is so tight that they have no choice but to be like, wow, okay, you know what? You might be right.
Right. We had the dude in the chat last night that was a J marker, and very quickly he caught on to what we were saying, and he then started teaching other people in the chat what was right and wrong. It's simple once you get it, but it's when people got these dogmatic ideologies that they want to push, that's when the fight comes.
Yeah.
Some people want to make all of Israel white. Some people want to make all of Israel black.
Exactly. And we going into them rooms, them Jewish rooms, yo. We in Clubhouse. We got clickbait for them. They be falling into the room, ready to attack. We start showing them these, you know, and some of them are slick with their little DNA talk. But when we give them the business, like I said, everybody expect us to walk into those kind of rooms, you know, not come out. Or you know what I'm saying? We coming out unscathed with allies. This is crazy. Y'all better stop paying attention.
Nah, man. They want to listen to the brother talking about some Ezekiel 37 and it's talking about the 12 tribes chart. That brother literally said that when it says stick there, it means plank. And that's talking about the plank that we use to put the 12 tribes chart on to teach people on the street. That's more accurate information than actually digging up the skeletal remains, sequencing the DNA, and figuring out who descends from who. Madness, man. Go ahead, play that, brother.
Our people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. But yeah, hear me play this.
The Yamnaya feature in my Bronze Age fantasy series, Gods of Bronze. You can get your copy of the novella The Wolf God for free by signing up to my email newsletter. The link is in the description.
Can y'all hear, by the way?
The Yamnaya culture was a Copper Age to early Bronze Age archaeological culture of the Pontic Steppe, north of the Black Sea, dating to 3300 to 2600 BC. Its name derives from its characteristic burial tradition. Yamnaya is a Russian adjective that means related to pits, and these people used to bury their dead in tumuli, the famous kurgans, which we call barrows or burial mounds in Britain. These contained simple pit chambers beneath the mounds. In life, they practiced transhumance, a type of pastoralism or nomadism where they spent winters in the wooded river valleys and summers out on the grasslands with their herds. The Yamnaya culture is identified with the late Proto-Indo-Europeans and is the strongest candidate for the original homeland of the Proto-Indo-European language, of which English is just one of many descendants. They possibly invented the wheel, and they were the first or almost to domesticate and ride horses. And they invented four-wheeled, ox-drawn, axled wagons that enabled them to drive herds of cattle across the steppes and carry enough water and shelter with them to do so. Because of these innovations, they were probably the first people in history to solve the problem of living out on the arid, barren grasslands of the Eurasian steppe, rather than always in the river valleys that cross it. The remnants of their camps, found by archaeologists, suggest they wintered in river valleys, using the trees there for fuel to keep warm, and took their cattle onto the steppe in summer for grazing, and each group would have had their own territory. They ate horses, cattle, sheep, pigs, and also hunted saga antelope and other animals of the steppe and river valleys. We're talking about the great valleys like the Don and the Volga and their many tributaries. They also drank milk and ate butter and cheese, but adult lactose tolerance, lactose persistence, probably wasn't that common amongst these people until later. Some Yamnaya did a bit of farming, growing millet and amaranth, but it seems that it wasn't a huge part of their diet. Thanks perhaps to their incredibly tough lifestyle, their warlike patriarchal culture, and their high-protein diet, they were big people with large, robust skulls and big bones. And archaeologists immediately recognize their remains in excavations versus those of the Neolithic farmers of Europe that they replaced or merged with, who were smaller people with slighter skulls and gracile frames. The combination of physical and social and technological traits meant that the Yamnaya were incredibly successful people. So much so that they expanded out of the steppes, along with other related peoples, and into Neolithic Europe. Different regions of old Europe experienced different levels of interaction with these expanding Yamnaya and other steppe people. In the early 20th century, it was imagined that they had swept down from the plains, conquering all before them like some Bronze Age Mongols or Scythians. And it's understandable because that is somewhat shown in the archaeological evidence, where the old cultural artifacts disappear when those of the Yamnaya show up. But that view of great armies of horsemen is anachronistic. There wasn't anything like that until the Iron Age, thousands of years later. The Yamnaya expansion was more complicated than that, and there were different interactions in different places and times, and it's not yet well understood exactly how it worked on the ground. But much of the expansion from the Black Sea all the way eventually to the British Isles was driven by bands of young men leaving their clan to raid and dominate others beyond. over hundreds of years and many generations. This drove the expansion west and east. Watch my video on the Kurios to hear more about that. There were also rarer great folk migrations where whole people seemed to up and move thousands of miles very quickly to as far away ultimately as India and even to the edge of China, bringing the technology of
Yeah. You see how the Yamnaya, these people with the Yamnaya related ancestry, not only are they going into Europe from the Pontic Steppe, they're also going towards Asia.
Mm-hmm. China. That's where you find those they call them the white mummies. Those would have been Yamnaya's people.
And that's, I believe, the Yamnaya carried the white. So there's another hypothesis that Asians developed their own SLC 2485 variant. But I think that the Yamnaya are the reason why Asians lighten up.
I agree with that. Because South Asia is still dark skinned, like the Filipinos and the Aita people and the Gritos and stuff. They're still dark in Asia. But the Chinese and all that, they're kind of, they're kind of yellowish.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's an interesting hypothesis.
Yeah, man. I think they carried those white skin alleles over there, started mixing with those people, and then sexual selection happened, and most of those people started to, populate with lighter skin variants.
It makes sense in the grand scheme of things. I can see it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the same thing would have definitely happened in India, because we know with the Aryan invasion, they went. You can see even the map right there. It says ancestral North Indians. When the Aryans went into India, they would have lightened up the northern part of the continent of India, the people towards the north. But towards the south of India, you have the Dravidians or the Tamils, and they're still dark skinned to this day.
Aren't they haplogroup H?
Mm-hmm. That is correct. They got H.
Yes. And R starts touching the northern part of the subcontinent, as they would call it, the sub-Asian continent, which would be India,
Pakistan, Afghanistan. There's actually a lot of tension between Pakistan and India. But yeah, that's when you start to see
Razib Khan has R1, doesn't he?
Yeah, that's when you actually start to see R1A, which is like the brother of R1B. R1A kind of went into Central Asia and India and such. And also, this is when you start to see Sanskrit and Indo-European languages and the caste system. The lighter skinned Aryans versus the darker skinned population.
Hold on, before you click that. You see where it says modern European clang?
Over here?
Yeah. That means that most modern Europeans derive their ancestry from the Yamnaya.
And they also have dates for when this started to occur as well.
So this is proof that white people were around in 2500 BC?
Yeah.
Hey.
Don't get Darvish.
This is like the go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm about to say, don't get Darvish started, because if Darvish, he get on here, it would be another 8-hour, 10-hour stream.
I know that was like a bat call, right?
So basically, you could think of the Yamnaya expansion as like the Bantu expansion. How it, how far they reached, the far-reaching, the expansion of that particular haplogroup.
And they did it quick. They did it so quickly. Look, 3300 BC is the starting point. Then look at all the other time dates around.
All the way in China.
They did it. They did
by
it fast.
300 years. That's because of those horses, though. They were, they were breeding horses,
culture.
And they had a wheel. They likely developed a wheel. So
that's it. They've developed the wheel. That's Israel. The Yamnaya is officially Israel.
Yeah, man. Guerrilla Hebrew and all the brothers that got R, man, we're using Guerrilla Hebrew as a beacon, but it's like at the same time, like this is you could be proud of this history, man.
For real though. I mean, sure, y'all invented the wheel. Europeans love talking about that. y'all domesticated
about the wheel.
Domesticated the horse.
They still talking about the wheel.
Yeah, you can go on those internet forums and they love talking about that.
Did somebody mention Sanskrit earlier?
Yeah, me. I mean, it's an Indo-European language.
According to Ronald Dalton, that's a that's a Semitic language.
Oh no,
Semitic language, yes, sir. That's what he said.
Making Aryan languages Semitic. Okay.
Make Sanskrit Indo-European again. You can let it play.
Horse riding, wagons, chariots, and bronze working to those places for the first time. The Yamnaya and their descendants replaced and merged with the earlier peoples of Europe, so that European people look and speak how they do today, because these wagon-driving, horse-riding warriors are our ancestors. If your paternal haplogroup, your Y haplogroup, is R1A or R1B, for example, mine is R1B, then it's likely that your ancestors include the Yamnaya. R1b is the most common Y haplogroup in Europe, carried by over 110 million European males. It is most common in the British Isles. So for many of us, if you trace our lineages back through father to son, all the way back 5,000 years, we would find that these men of the Yamnaya are quite literally our forefathers. And that is in part why I wanted to recreate these people and show their impact on the world in
so the 12 tribes of Yamnaya.
I'm not gonna play this whole video, but it's also a pretty good one. It goes into the expansion of Indo-European languages.
Fair use. Hey man, he said quite literally our forefathers.
Those with R1B and R1A. Yep.
It is what it is.
I think everybody, or if you're into history and all that type of stuff, you'll be familiar with this channel, Kings and Generals. Really good.
Yeah, man, I'm a Kings and Generals nerd.
Yeah,
I really like the animations and stuff.
I'm subscribed to them as well. They do good work.
Portugal and India share a lot of common history ever since Vasco da Gama's voyage. But what may come as a surprise is that the Portuguese language already shared many similarities with the numerous languages spoken in India, including inflection, word structure, pronunciation, and vocabulary. Languages constantly change and adapt, but in the case of Portuguese, Hindi, Farsi, Latin, Greek, English, Polish, and many others, there is only one common ancestor which binds them all into a single family.
Bienvenidos al primer vídeo sobre la evolución de las idiomas indoeuropeas.
Wait, did you know you can watch this video in Spanish and 4 other languages? You can simply change the audio. More creators should make videos. Recently, the accusation's very unique passed down from one generation was the main language barrier in videos together. For millions of years, evolution was the main pathway of human development, as genetic information was passed down from one generation to the next. It was that same force which gave humans very unique tools, which we used to climb the food chain, such as opposable thumbs, sweating, and larger brains. Then suddenly the ability to make complex sounds, and more importantly, the acute sensitivity to comprehend speech, ushered in the development of languages, which allowed us to pass knowledge at a speed that dramatically surpassed evolution. Languages to this day remain an essential part of our everyday life, as they help us communicate, express ourselves, and define our identity. Over the years, thousands of languages have gone extinct, and yet there are still over 7,100 of them, divided into 442 families. The largest among them, spoken by 3.2 billion people, or 46% of the world's population, is the Indo-European language family. The story begins with the incredibly influential Yamnaya culture at around 4000 BC in the Pontic steppe of modern-day Ukraine. Its people were semi-nomadic pastoralists who domesticated cattle, dogs, and above all, horses. This is where the oldest discovered wheels were uncovered, as well as burial sites that show one of the earliest forms of ownership. Compared to the widespread communal tombs we find in most societies, the Yamnaya burial pits belonged to clans, families, or even individuals, sometimes buried with entire wagons. Combined with the fact that they were one of the first Bronze Age cultures, this allowed the Yamnaya to spread across Eurasia on their horses. This expansion was swift and aggressive. Rather than developing their own colonies, they interbred with the local Neolithic cultures, spreading their genes as well as their Proto-Indo-European language. In time, the speakers of this language became isolated from each other, and regional dialects developed into their own daughter languages, a process that continues to this day. Using the comparative method, linguists and archaeologists were able to
I'm pausing the video because I want to show y'all. You see how the Indo-Europeans spread into places like Anatolia in the Middle East or in the Near East, some people might say. But so the reason why this is important because the Anatolian languages are Indo-European, specifically ancient peoples and civilizations like the Hittites. And of course, the Hittites are mentioned as one of the 7 nations of Canaan that the Israelites were tasked with driving out. But yeah, I just want to emphasize how the Hittites were an Indo-European empire in the Middle East, and they would have also came from the Yamnaya. Could be a reason why we have some R markers in the Middle East as well. But also, um, uh, I could play another video after this, but I'm not going to. But I'll just explain this part. When you start to see these Yamnaya go into the Middle East, this is also when you start to see people groups of the Caucasian languages and Caucasian background, like Hurrians and such, migrate further south because they were getting pushed by the Yamnaya as they migrated in around the time of 4000 BC and 3000 BC. That's why these Caucasians were moving further into like the Levant and stuff like that, because the Yamnaya were kind of like, as y'all just heard, they're kind of warlike, so they kept getting pushed further south. And in some cases, Hurrians also mixed with the Yamnaya or had pacts with them, and they would travel together into the Middle East. But yeah.
So King Tut was Yamnaya.
Yeah, he more than likely came from Yamnaya ancestors. Yeah. Could have been ancestor of Hyksos, because some people say the Hyksos were a mixture of Semitic and Indo-European groups. And plus the Hyksos had chariots. And as we heard from earlier, the Yamnaya were the first people to have chariots, invent the wheel and stuff of that nature. So.
Hey, man, you know what's funny about all this? Is another one where it's teaching is that the word Anglo-Saxon means angelic
sons of Isaac.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I've heard even Black Hebrew Israelites teach that, not just the British Israelis.
I will say this though: the Anglo-Saxons were Christians, and they practiced the form of Christianity that was practiced in North Africa.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a lot of them migrated up into areas of Britain and stuff from places like the Iberian Peninsula and places in Southern Europe that were closely connected with like the Punic empires.
R1B confirmed. Jacob.
There it is.
Construct the original ancestor vocabulary, despite the fact that it was never written down. In fact, the words for writing, sea, and iron are vastly different across the many Indo-European languages, since those concepts arose after the original migration. However, the words that were commonly used by the Yamnaya people were nearly identical across Latin, Germanic, Ancient Greek, Hittite, Slavonic, Avestan, and Sanskrit. On your screen, you can see how the cognate words for family remained mostly the same across Indo.
That's kind of interesting. So in English, you have mother. Indo-European would be mater, and Ancient Greek is like mater, and then Latin is mater. That's so interesting. I like looking at this type of stuff.
Where's the Hebrew comparison?
There's probably Afro-Asiatic one if we type in that on
Nah, I'm just joshing because These guys are claiming to be ancient Israelites, so I'm looking for the ancient Israelite connection here.
Yeah, there's none. There's zero. Even the
Closest
Semitic
connection they
languages.
gonna be able to find is with the Celtic runes because they're based off the Phoenician letters.
Yeah, that's the best they'll have. Yeah, and there's a good video on how Celtic and Semitic is kind of similar in a few ways, not like totally, but kind of in some ways.
Maybe this is where they get the Lashwan Kadash from.
Yo,
Afro-Asiatic and Indo-European.
I literally saw a video of somebody comparing the Lashwan Kadash to ancient Sanskrit. Because you know the ancient Indian language like ba, ga, and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah, so they was like, oh, this Sanskrit language. I think it was Sanskrit. It was something in ancient Indian. I thought it was a Sanskrit language, but they were trying to make the comparison.
Look at these people trying to tap into their roots.
Trying to tap into the European roots.
I mean, that's the best way to explain it. Epigenetics, bro. Maybe there's some truth to it. I don't know.
Hey, you see what Mr. Blacktastic said?
Let me see. Hold on. I can't see the comment.
It's right there on the screen. Anglo-Saxon actually means angelic saxophone player in the Negro language.
The Negro.
Man, Tahar
yes,
them did
the Negro language.
One West them did a lot of damage in this community because for them to sit there and say that Lashwan Kadash is the language that was spoken by the ancient Israelites and stuff, and to superimpose that is just so much. It lacks integrity, right? Because you know damn well that language is made up. It's a confabulation. And it has nothing to do with no ancient Israelites. And this is why you have Guerrilla Hebrew. This is why I can't really fault Guerrilla Hebrew, because in the debate he said, well, then again, that goes back to the Indo-European languages too. Because in the debate he said that the word lawa, because he says that that's how you're supposed to say Levi, it's lawa. The word law comes from the Hebrew. So the English word law, the Indo-European word law, comes from Hebrew. No, it doesn't. It goes to the Germanic lag, and it means to lay. That's where it goes back to. So even with their ancient Israelite understanding, Hebrew understanding, it's going back to Indo-European. You know what I'm saying?
British Israelism.
They're on the cool. They actually tracing themselves back to the Indo-European roots.
Well, and ironically.
Hey, ain't that the Teo twins, Papa?
That's Mr. Utsi.
I'm kind of just skimming through this video. This is by another good YouTube channel. I don't know if I should be advertising these channels on your channel though, but
no, advertising. They good channel.
Study of Antiquity and the Middle Ages. It's a pretty good channel. He actually was in the hospital for a while. Some complications he had health wise, but I think he's better now. But yeah, this is a good channel. Let me push this really quick because I see the DNA symbol. I just want to see what it's talking about.
The Yamnaya and Proto-Indo-European. It is hard, if not impossible in many cases, to determine the language associated with an archaeological culture. Unless they have translatable written records that have been preserved, the language spoken by an ancient society leaves no trace of itself in the archaeological record. Despite this problem, there are ways to determine the language most likely spoken by an archaeological culture. The spread of Yamnaya genetic influence across Europe and Central Asia roughly matches the spread of Indo-European languages. The origin of the Indo-European languages is another field fraught with contention and controversy. The two main views are that the speakers of Proto-Indo-European, the hypothetical ancestor of Indo-European languages, were either Anatolian farmers who began to expand from their homeland in 7000 BCE, or pastoralist nomads from the steppes of Eurasia who began to spread out from their homeland around 4000 BCE.
Yeah, there's actually like 3 different hypotheses for the origins of Proto-Indo-Europeans. He mentioned one of them, which is the Anatolian. Then there's the Armenian, and then there's the steppe. Personally, I go with the Armenian origin of Proto-Indo-European. So basically, they would have moved from the Southern Caucasus to the Northern Caucasus, and one group would have went from the Southern Caucasus to Anatolia. So I kind of take both approaches. That's just me.
Let me answer this real quick. Praise God says, how do you go from saying Native Americans are Israelites in your old videos to now saying they are European descent? Well, actually, in those older videos, I was deriving our understanding from the group that I left from, which is IUIC, and they teach that. So I was trying to reinforce those ideals, but I ran into a brick wall when I started understanding DNA. And I started developing my understanding of DNA. Then I found out that Native Americans, a lot of Native Americans are European descent because they have European markers. And this is congruent with and comports with history when many of the Western Europeans would come to the Americas, infiltrate these tribes, and have sex with their women, right? And produce European progeny, right? So that's why I did the pretty much upheaval on my channel, where now I tell people, no, that list, that 12 tribes a lie, those old videos is faulty information. It was based off a faulty premise. That's the simple explanation of it. But if you go online, like if you go to like Cherokee, let me show you something real quick. Cherokee, the Cherokee Project Family Tree DNA.
Yeah, Cherokee might be the only people with a kind of a good claim of coming from the Middle East. But that's just generally talking about the Middle East.
So if you go to DNA results, go to classic chart. Let me share my screen real quick. I'm gonna show you something, and I can't get rid of this damn bot.
Is anybody on the bots?
Man, they're trying to take us down, huh?
Yeah, man, that's tail, man.
Yeah, it's just too much information. Nobody, and we don't know where that's coming from. That could be coming from the WHIs. It be coming from the BHIs. We don't know where that's coming from, bro.
You got so many, yeah.
That's coming from everybody, all of us.
Yeah.
So y'all see
from everybody. They don't know the wars we've been in. They don't know the wars we've been in.
So praise God. You see the screen here? This is from Family Tree DNA. So these Cherokees submitted their DNA, and what does that say up top? European haplogroups. So on their father's side, they got an eye marker, like that's in Scandinavia and and Sardinia. You see a lot of eyes in those regions, right? Northern Europe. Then you got some R, Z198, M269. These are Yamnaya people. This is the lineage that pretty much populates most of Western Europe to this day. So we know where these people come from. Look, Ireland, Scotland, United Kingdom. So a lot of these Cherokees that are walking around actually descend from Europeans on their male side. So this is concrete science.
$5 Indians.
$5 Indians are the people that just came in and introgressed into them. Now, some of them are QM3. Some of them actually do paternally go back to Native Americans. But here's the funny thing. Q and R are relatives. They actually tie back together.
Yep.
Through old P, huh?
Through P, yeah. About 20,000 years ago. All right. So this is what they found here. A lot of R, and you got some Q, which is that old Native American lineage. Mr. Black Tastic said,
You can't buck the facts, brother. Like, there's no way that brother could sit there, look at the DNA evidence, and ignore that shit just to rock with a 12 tribes chart. My brother's too honest for that.
Right. Like examining all this, I had to like change it up, bro. Well, a lot of brothers would just say, "Oh, it's fake." No, man, you're gonna have to deal with that DNA brick wall eventually. You're gonna run into it.
Yep.
And bang, here it is.
Mr. Black Tastic said, Yashub, I got much love and respect for you to have done what you've done and gone through the things you have for the sake of truth. Many people don't have the integrity to risk it all. I know, right, man? These brothers want to continue because people want to say they always had the truth. No, man, the thing about it is we're dealing with these claims, and these claims are subject to change when we get more knowledge and understanding of evidence. That's all.
They mess themselves up because they always say this. They say, "Oh, I had a dream," or "Oh, the Lord spoke to me," and now it turns out that what you're saying is false. Now it's like, okay, so either one, you're just psycho and you're bipolar, thinking that things are talking to you, or two, you're just a straight up liar, or three. Well, actually, it can either be one or two. There's really no three.
I think they poisoned by the conscious community, because the conscious community like to look back and say, "Oh, well, the master teachers back in the 60s, 50s, 40s said this, that, and this," instead of looking at the new data and basing your information off the new data. Because that's the main reason why I never joined a camp, is because of the fact that they didn't show. I didn't see progress there. I didn't see any forward progress there. It was like they stand in this one spot, and now they coming up against people who challenging them on stuff, and they can't even answer these people.
Yep. Hadn't changed since the 60s.
Right. I want to show him something, but he also made another statement. He said, do you still believe Esau is a Caucasian still, or did you change that as well? Because I know you went into a lot of history. I got many of my info on Esau from you. I don't carry that sentiment. Just because someone's a Caucasian, white skin, doesn't mean they come from Esau.
Even that word Caucasian is tricky.
Yeah, those are dregs from my One West days, and I was trying to find information to reinforce that. Now there's a lot of information out there that try to point that way. A lot of Jews teach that. Like I was getting a lot of my information from Yair David, where he was saying Germans with Esau, a lot of Eastern Europeans and Polish was Esau. So I will reinforce that. The problem is the DNA don't bear that out.
And really, they're talking symbolic when it comes to all that type of stuff, because they call everybody Amalek that tries to kill them.
You're right.
Like, literally everybody.
Yeah, but I give this. There is possible that some of that E1B1B that's there, maybe even possible some of that E1B1A that's in Europe could possibly be Esau. I'm not knocking it. I mean, I'm not against the history of people like Zepho and other sons of Esau going into Europe, like Greece and these different areas. I'm not against that. I mean, even if you check the history of Alexander the Great, they say he goes back to Agag or Agagite, which, from biblically speaking, that's the Edomite. So I think those E's that's in Europe have a chance to be Esau, but I wouldn't try to paint the R1Bs and R1As and I's and all that as Esau.
EV13 is the best shot, I think, for being Esau.
Yeah, we touched on that. Didn't we do a video on that? I think we did like 2 clubhouse rooms on that as well.
Yeah, that was mostly restricted to clubhouse talk.
Right. But, we got replays on all our stuff. You know us, we keep receipts. So if y'all want to go listen to them, go to Clubhouse, find them, and listen. A lot of information over there.
Look, Amir on point, man. I love this brother, man. He a little bit darker. Y'all think I'm dark in my comedy and my humor side is dark. This brother been saying some things, man. I been throwing some shots. This brother, he been talking dirty, man. But he says here, in response to praise God, said no, he doesn't. Esau being Jacob's twin entails they're going to have the same haplogroup makeup from the Levant. Caucasians don't carry this, hence they're not Esau. Exactly.
We talked about this yesterday. We need to get over this whole Esau the boogeyman thing, because there are Edomites in West Africa, in Central Africa, in North Africa. Like the scripture says, Abraham's children would mix with all nations. Why do you think only one of his children did that?
Right. And Esau's not even the big bad guy in the end, if you believe in the
Esau is literally just lost Hebrews. That's all it is.
Yeah, if you take I'm just going to use these terms, the Old Testament approach, according to the book of Ezekiel, it's Gog and Magog who's the bad guy in the end times. And if you take the New Testament approach, it's still Gog and Magog in the book of Revelations. It's really Japheth who comes after the
Gog and Magog is Yamnaya.
Exactly, bro. Exactly. It's not Esau who's
we found our enemy.
Oh man, Gorilla Hebrew, man.
Wait. This is taking a whole new view. So those who say they're Jews but are not, but do lie, are the synagogue of Satan? Yanea gang.
Gog and Magog.
Naya can't help but
y'all speaking to Rob Wack. Hey, Rob Wack, hit that link, brother. Why is you come on, brother? Come up here and talk to me, man. Come up here and talk to me, man. Express your concerns. He feel like we be a little bit too tough on Black Hebrew Israelites. But I don't know how that's the case because these same people are spitting on people, fighting people in the streets, throwing shit at
my
people.
Boot.
Huh?
Wait, what?
Kiss my boot.
Making white people bow down and kiss their boots, all type of stuff. And then disrespecting brothers, talking about some of your wives don't respect you and all this other stuff. Why should we care about your opinion? And brothers is sleeping with other brothers. Like, come on, man. Like, y'all, why you guys are so soft on brothers that are so tough? I don't get it.
Yeah,
and here's another thing, Rob Wack. You haven't been with us. You haven't seen me get down on Clubhouse. You haven't seen all my material. The people that are racist Jews, I get on their ass too. And I don't know why this is so harsh.
Maybe we got to start
giving information.
Maybe we
actually we should start airing them.
Yeah.
No, we have a lot of recordings. All we got to do is air them.
Well, yeah, but they don't go live on YouTube making videos.
No. But we can. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. What you were saying, James?
Oh no, go ahead and say what you got to say, bro. I don't mind about getting cut off. I don't give a damn.
I maybe forget what I was saying, bro. What was I saying? Oh yeah, you can go to yeah. Well, we have recordings already. We have a few. We don't have all of them, but we have some good ones that we could just air here on Genesis 49ers or whatever. We could just air it.
Ain't nothing wrong with that shit. We've been airing out every goddamn thing else over the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Y'all gonna really see what we about, how we be getting down, and our travels.
Yeah, we just give it to the people that deserve it. That's all. You understand that? If Ron Shields find, because he claimed he don't know his DNA, but if he found out he's a different haplogroup, I'm not going to do a series on him because he doesn't go out and make these crazy ass claims that these other brothers are doing.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? They saying all these Europeans are going into slavery and the white man's the devil. Meanwhile, they descend from these people. So what you got to say about that, Rod Wack? Click that link, man. He said it's the ridicule of how they are enjoying themselves. Damn, we can't enjoy ourselves when we make a video and crack a joke here, crack a joke there.
Hey, yo, listen.
But them brothers can go out there and kick ass, beat people up, tell them kiss their boots. You perfectly fine with that. But we come in here and make a little light humor.
This type of attitude is soft to me. Like our ancestors would get killed before they ate ham. They would die before they broke one mitzvah. And now we got internet Hebrews complaining because they getting a little bit of fire underneath their ass. This is just bull. This is softness. This is baby crap soft. This is warm Pop-Tart right in the middle. Like I can press through you soft.
Hey, yo, look what Rabbi Yahoo said.
He said you kicked me out of a clubhouse room because I made a comment about 1948ers in the land eating kosher pigs. I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe you did get kicked out. I don't know what you're talking about.
Click the link and jump on.
Click the link, Rob. Who's Rob Black anyway? Who is this dude?
I don't know.
But he ain't get kicked out of one of our rooms for saying that.
My dude. You get
but that wasn't one of our rooms. If he's saying that was one of our rooms, we did not for this comment.
No, it wasn't one of our rooms, but still, it's like this is still softness to me. This is some soft crap right here. He said 1948ers in the land eating kosher pigs. Like, who cares? What are you doing? I'm sorry, but we have articles showing that ancient Israelites ate pork. So I don't know if you mad because they're acting like ancient Israelites and you're not, or what?
This is what I'm saying, man. Look, I think he's upset because we're vindicating people that he calls 1948ers. Bro, those people have ancestral ties to that land, bro. We're not gonna sit up here and lie just because to fit your agenda. Those people do, and then you got people over here trying to say they're synagogue of Satan, and they go back to Europe and go back to the Yemnaya expansion. Come on, man. I thought it was about the truth. I thought everything was about exposing the truth.
Yep. I mean, you can disagree that they Israelites, but you can't disagree that their DNA goes back to the Bronze Age and Iron Age in that land. You just can't.
Exactly. Even the J markers got a decent claim to that land.
Oh man.
And they'll be the Canaanites, but still, Canaanites were there.
Yo, they clowning in the chat, yo.
It is the land of Canaan.
Exactly.
Rob Wack, come up here and talk to me, man. Get up here and talk, bro. We gotta talk, man. Who is Rob Wack?
I don't even know. I don't remember him in our clubhouse.
He said he was in one of
I
our
don't remember. I don't know.
This can't be
one I remember that name from way back, like way back.
Somebody on the box?
Talk to us,
yeah,
man.
bots.
Yeah, I've been actually trying to subside that myself.
Yeah, the bot came back. Hold on. Let me go to YouTube because I just have the StreamYard pulled up. Let me. Yeah, somebody really don't like us.
Oh, he's Rob Rack.
I don't know who that is.
All right, I was able to block somebody, but damn. Yeah, they are conspiracy theorists. I mean, for the most part. Yeah, that's crazy, man. Let me show y'all something, man. This is why I forgot to do this too. Look at this. Hopefully, praise God is here. Look what this says here. Native Americans, and this goes back to that 12 tribes chart because on the low, y'all saying this and don't even know y'all saying this. Native Americans and Northern Europeans more closely related than previously thought. And then what do they have on that chart? A bunch of mestizos that go back to Europeans and Native Americans, right? It says here, I won't read the whole thing, but it says here, using genetic analysis, scientists have discovered that Northern European populations descend from a mixture of two very different ancestral populations, and one of these populations is related to the Native Americans. So we can clearly see that those two groups are actually related. So when you see those Q's and those R's, they do go back and share ancestry. Kedrick says, if you act like Esau, Esau is you. Esau is a part of us as Jacob. Don't be that dude. Oh, man.
That sounds like a bar. Like he's spitting bars.
He's spitting bars, man.
Don't Look, it says, guy.
It says, using genetic analysis, scientists have discovered that Northern European populations, including British, Scandinavian, French, and some Eastern Europeans, descend from a mixture of two very different ancestral populations. And one of these populations is related to Native Americans. This discovery helps fill the gap in scientific understanding of both Native American and Northern European ancestry while providing an explanation for some genetic similarities among that would otherwise seem to be very divergent groups.
That was like the first article I ever read that made me start arguing with you early on about that 12 tribes chart.
Hey, that 12 tribe chart is a tapestry of European and Native American ancestry, and it makes sense. It makes all the sense in the world. I had another article too. Let's go in real quick and blitz through this real quick. Look at this. So this Nature article, I almost forgot to bring this out. The beaker phenomenon. So again, when you're dealing with Europe, one of the major cultures, the bell beaker culture, the funnel beaker culture,
battle axe culture,
the corded war culture. All of these things are
12 tribes of Yemnaya.
The 12 tribes of Yemnaya, man. That's what that chart's talking about, the Yemnaya ancestry. I'm sticking to that, man. The beaker phenomenon in the genomic transformation of the Northwest Europe. From around 2750 to 2500 BC, bell beaker pottery became widespread across Western and Central Europe before it disappeared between 2200 and 1800 BC. So notice these dates. During these times, you know, Abraham would have probably been around 2200 BC, somewhere around that area, right? So the time of Abraham, you got R1B somewhere in Europe, chilling.
Well, you know, Abraham, they got like in a range between like 2100 and like mid Iron Age, so like down to like 1700, somewhere between that range.
Right. So around that time, they would have been dealing with the Bell Beaker up here in Europe. You know, not the Levant. You know what I'm saying? Nowhere in the regions that's mentioned in the Bible. So I take issue with that unless they got some way to reconcile that. It says the forces that propelled its expansion are a matter of long-standing debate, and there is support for both cultural diffusion and migration having a role in this process. Here we present genome-wide data from 400 Neolithic, Copper Age, and Bronze Age Europeans, including 226 individuals associated with the Beaker Complex artifacts. We detected limited genetic affinity between Beaker Complex associated individuals from Iberia and Central Europe, and thus exclude migration as an important mechanism of spread between these two regions. However, migration had a key role in the further dissemination of Beaker Complex. We document the phenomenon most clearly in Britain, where the spread of the Beaker Complex introduced high levels of step-related ancestry and was associated with replacement of approximately 90% of Britain's gene pool within a few hundred years. Continuing to the east and west expansion that had brought step-related ancestry to Central and Northern Europe over the previous centuries. And we've already discussed what markers is associated with the step ancestry is primarily R1A and R1B, with a huge emphasis on R1B.
And they just committed genocide on I.
90%. So the same thing that happened in the Americas happened in Europe by the
And then when they was in Central, they beat the hell out of G2A.
They beat the hell out of Teo's ancestors, man. They damn near wiped out Teo's ancestors, man.
You know, there's really two United expansions. There's the one, obviously, that happened in the Bronze Age, but really the European expansion of the transatlantic slave trade and the scramble for Africa, that's kind of like a second United expansion. Like they went all throughout the world again, Americas, Africa, India, you know, the British control of India, and Australia and such.
First they hit the old world, then they hit the new, huh?
Exactly. It's kind of interesting.
Man.
Well, y'all shall enlarge Japheth because them motherfuckers, man.
Yep.
Hey, how they gonna reconcile this? Just ignore it? I think they're just gonna ignore it. It says during the 3rd millennium BC, 2 new archaeological pottery styles expanded across Europe and replaced many of the more localized styles that had preceded them. The expansion of the quarterware complex in North Central and Northeastern Europe was associated with people who derived most of their ancestors from the population related to the early Bronze Age Yamnaya pastoralists in the Eurasian steppe. In Western Europe, there was equally expansive Bell Beaker complex defined of assemblages of grave goods and included stylized bell-shaped pots, copper daggers, arrowheads, stone wrist guards, and perforated buttons. The oldest radiocarbon dates associated with Beaker pottery are from around 2750 BC in the Atlantic Iberia, which has been interpreted as evidence that the Beaker complex originated in the region. However, the geographic origins of the complex are still debated. In other scenarios, including on the origin of the Lower Rhine area, or even multiple independent origins are possible. Regardless of geographic origin, by 2500 BC, the Beaker complex had spread throughout Western Europe and Northwest Africa and had reached Southern Atlantic France, Italy, and Central Europe. You know why it's important that it's talking about Northwest Africa? Because a lot of these brothers say, well, there's our markers in Africa. Yes, they came from the steppes into Europe, into the Iberian region, and then penetrated Northwest Africa. That's how you explain that. They don't originate in Africa.
Still Eurasians.
Still Eurasians, man.
Same way E1B1B went through North Africa and went up into the Iberian Peninsula.
Exactly. It says Northwest Africa had reached Southern Atlantic France, Italy, and Central Europe, where it overlapped geographically with the quarterware complex. Within another 100 years, it had expanded to Britain and Ireland. A major debate in archaeology has revolved around the question of whether the spread of the Beaker complex was mediated by the movement of people, culture, or a combination of both. Genome-wide data have revealed high proportions of steppe-related ancestry in the Beaker complex associated individuals from Germany and the Czech Republic, man. Look, man, all we've been reading about all night is about how these people derive their ancestry from peoples in Germany, the Czech, Poland, Eastern Europe, Scandinavia.
You didn't get no Morocco, man? No Tunisia?
But brother, Europe
And
was
how many
black.
sources?
Those are black Israelites, brother.
Those are black Israelites.
Man, there got to be Somali in there somewhere.
Hey, and how many sources we gave him so far?
Damn, this about what, 5 or 6?
Brother, this is from the white man.
It
This
got to be
doesn't
about,
matter.
because Evie came in and dropped some joints too.
Yeah. We can drop 10 sources. They go over there and spit some ooga booga shit, and that's good. Yeah, we refuted them niggas. Bibbity bobbity boo.
And it's crazy because we got a lot of more for you. If y'all ain't get it tonight, we come back, we got some more.
Man, these people will not survive in the court of law.
Hey man, y'all gonna have to tap into the ancient Germany and the ancient Czech Republican ancestry, man. Come on, brothers. It says, which shows that these individuals derive from mixtures of population from the steppe and preceding Neolithic farmers of Europe. However, a deeper understanding of the ancestry of peoples associated with the Beaker complex requires genomic characterization of individuals across the geographic range and temporal duration of this archaeological phenomenon. Then it goes into the ancient DNA. So I want to go directly to
jump to the Y chromosome, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm going. I'm going there directly to the Y chromosome analysis. It says the Y chromosome composition of Beaker complex associated males was dominated by R1BM269. Our brother Gorilla Hebrews clade, man. Right? That's in the Bell Beaker culture. This is in Europe. This is not in Western Central Africa. This is not a part of Ouagadougou. This is not a major component that's found in the Suniki people. It has nothing to do with that. Or the Gold Coast, ancient Cameroon, none of that. Shumlaka. No, we know where these people come from, derive their ancestry from. It's not secret. It's not hidden. It's right in plain English, right in your face. So it was dominated by R1BM269, which is a lineage associated with the arrival of steppe migrants in Central Europe after 3000 BC. Outside Iberia, this lineage was present in 84 out of 90 analyzed males. For individuals whom we determined R1BM269 subtype, the number equals 60, we found that all but 2 had the derived allele for the R1B S116P3 12 polymorphism, which defines a dominant subtype in Western Europe today. That's why I had him pause that video where it says modern Klein, because most of modern European males have this have a downstream marker R1BM269. It says, by contrast, Beaker complex associated individuals from Iberian Peninsula carried a higher proportion of Y haplogroups known to be common across Europe during the early Neolithic period, such as G2. Yeah, one with G2. Shout out to the Tail twins. This is how we know you guys derive your ancestry from Europe too, because G2 played a major role in Neolithic Europe. And then R1BM269 was found in 4 individuals with a genome-wide signal of steppe-related ancestry. And of these, the 2 with higher coverage could be classified. Let's go down. As R1BS116P312, the widespread presence of R1BS116P312 polymorphism of ancient individuals from Central and Western Europe suggests that people associated with the Beaker complex may have had an important role in the dissemination of this lineage throughout most of its present-day distribution, right? So just like my brother said earlier, man, y'all got to put on that chart, Bell Beaker, corded wear, battle X culture. You got to put all that on that chart, man. Y'all got to correct that chart, man.
I got a perfect video
Bring
for
it
these
out.
United Israelites. Let me first find it real quick.
Amir says, premise 1, all who related to Europeans are Esau. Premise 2, Native Americans are related to Europeans. Conclusion 1, Native Americans are Esau. Premise 3, if Native Americans are Esau, the 12 tribe chart is bunk. Premise 4, they are Esau's. conclusion too. The 12 tribe chart. The 12 tribe chart is bunk. This brother Amir ain't got off the gas yet, man. This brother busting his gun, man.
All right. This video, send this to y'all's Yamnaya Israelite brothers, because you know, they need to own their Indo-European culture. So let's look at this.
Fair use, fair use. Bishop, drop the comment. Drop a comment off the screen.
Fight the home, sing and cry. Valhalla, I am coming.
And y'all didn't see that blonde streaky hair?
It was Fabio.
That chiseled jaw and those startling blue eyes.
Hey, I see one of them went into Palestine and went into Europe, into Egypt.
Yeah, right here. That guy right there. And in the
Nah, man, you gotta back that up so we can see that blonde flowing hair and that chiseled jaw.
Your ancestor.
Look at that man.
Look at that.
With his battle axe in hand.
Mm-hmm. It's chariots. You know what's funny is that when you read the comments, Chad Indo-European riots a chariot, destroys your culture, praise Deus, refuses to elaborate further. Like, come on, man, y'all need to step into that culture, man. Be like these people, be proud of it.
Hey, he was a Neolithic Chad. He came through, knocked all the beta boys out the way, and knocked down all the women.
By Deus Peter, I am glad I found this piece of timeless art. Come on, tap into that Indo-European.
Yeah.
Drinks white milk. drinks while conquering / settling most of the known world on a dripped out cherry. Sigma Indo-European. Come on, bros. All hail the Sky Father. Come on. Be proud of this, bro.
Hey, you didn't see where they talked about the Yamnaya movement? There you go right there.
Yeah.
Certified Yamnaya
movement. Yeah.
There it is. The expansion.
Our people. That's right, GRLA. That's right.
He should have just put the letter R. R people.
That brother said, the brother said y'all throwing too many shots at him, man.
Wait, what, bro?
That's right, Guerrilla Hebrew.
But yeah, send this to y'all's Yamnaya Israelites based. Yeah, they proud of it.
Mike, for real, right. You're right. African Americans in the U.S. typically carry segments of DNA shaped by contributions from peoples of Europe, Africa, and the Americas, with variations in African and European admixture. Yes, that's what we keep trying to tell people. But they want to go out there in the street and condemn other groups, and they might be walking around a whole descendant of a European, man. What's going to happen is they're going to have to start applying these scriptures, bro.
In 3000 BC. Oh, my bad.
The Chad Semites.
I know, I saw that. I was like, in 3000 BC, Chad Indo-Europeans versus virgin tribals. Then after the 1st century, Chad Semites, that's more than likely the Arabs, versus virgin Indo-Europeans. Because you know how they always say, oh, the Arabs kind of like beat the butts of Europeans during the 1st century. And then the 13th century, Chad Mongols, you know, Ottomans and Turks and all that, versus virgin other groups. This is like meme type stuff. It's meme culture. But yeah.
Let me show them this real quick. Let me show them this. They're going to have to tap into this. And I think this is a great way to end off on.
Hey, I need that image, man. I need that image.
I'll send it to you.
Look, y'all going to have to just start dealing with these scriptures that deal with foreigners, bro. Because y'all have this exclusionary doctrine talking about only for this, only for that. But really, y'all gonna have to tap into this because a lot of you guys are going back to Yamnaya. So Leviticus 19:34 says, the stranger who resides with you shall be to you as the native among you, and you shall love him as yourself, for you are aliens in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. Y'all have to start tapping into that, man.
And stop ignoring it.
Yeah. I'm making excuses for it. Oh, no, that word stranger means Israelite there. No, it doesn't. Y'all gonna have to start applying these scriptures, man. That's what this is gonna make you do. We're looking at your ancestry. Your ancestry really don't have nothing to do with the ancient Levant. So I don't know how y'all making these claims. A lot of those people on that chart really go back to the Yamnaya people, go back to Europeans. So y'all gonna have to acknowledge these scriptures right here, man.
And you know it ain't talking about Israelites because it says, and you were a stranger in the land of Egypt. You ain't related to no Egyptians.
Come on, man. So when we gonna start applying Leviticus 19:34? Y'all gonna have to break down that racism shit, man. Y'all have to remove it because you yourself descend from these same people you're condemning. So Exodus 12:49, it says, the same law shall apply to the natives as to the stranger who sojourns among you. Right? Here go another one. Leviticus 24:22. There shall be one standard for you. It shall be for the stranger as well as the native. For I am the Lord your God. Numbers 9:14. If an alien sojourns among you and observes the Passover to the Lord, according to the statute of the Passover, according to its ordinance, so he shall do. You shall have one statute, both for the alien and for the native of the land.
Yep, he got to get that clip too. You know, he got to get circumcised to observe Passover.
Right. Numbers 15:14 says, if an alien sojourns with you, or one who may be among you throughout your generations, and he wishes to make an offering by fire and a soothing aroma to the Lord, just as you do, so shall he do. Numbers 15:15 says, as for the assembly, there should be one statute for you and for the alien who sojourns with you, a perpetual statute throughout your generations, as you are, so shall the alien be before the Lord. Bro, we just keep reading this. Y'all gonna
so that means they can come into the inner court and make sacrifices.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Like y'all got to start looking at these people. Y'all got to start modifying y'all damn doctrines, man. The BHI era is over with. The REI era is over with. The Tahar era is over with. The Nathaniel era is over with. You guys are teaching this misconstrued version of the biblical narrative. The ancestors, the ancient Israelites, the Levantines did not know anything of this.
And misconstrued history.
Misconstrued. Yeah, they just, for some reason, they think they start R1B start in Sudan. You know, all this other weird stuff, man. All this condemnation of all these people, but you don't find that in the scripture. Amir says, note also the second person being spoken to about this is Israel, and the stranger is referred to in third person. Claiming stranger is Israel makes no sense at all. Exactly. But when I was a part of IUIC, we had to break this down. Wherever it said stranger, it meant an Israelite. To keep the racial exclusive doctrine going. Numbers 15:16 said there is one law and one ordinance for you and for the alien who sojourns with you. Same chapter.
So alien is the Israelite too?
What do you mean?
No, I'm saying that they teach that alien meant Israelite too.
Yeah, they anywhere that it was something that was positive dealing with the stranger, it was Israelite. But it was
so
something
they don't
negative.
know what an illegal alien is.
Yeah.
We need somebody from outside the nation.
Exactly. Verse 29, it says, you shall have one law for him who does anything unintentionally, for him who is native among the sons of Israel, and for the alien who sojourns among them. Deuteronomy 1:16 says, then I charge your judges at the time, saying, hear the cases between your fellow countrymen, and judge righteously between a man and his fellow countrymen, or the alien who was with him. Where's this racist exclusive stuff? Where's the verse where it says, if he black, he Israel, if he white, he not? Where's that verse?
If he not Israel, you can dog him.
Yeah, if he's not Israel, you can dog his ass. Where's it at? And that's what you guys are teaching in these camps. It's not biblical. And the cherry on top of the cake is that a lot of you guys are Yemnaya and Europeans. Not even ancient Levantine peoples. Unless you want to tap into that Philistine energy.
Yeah.
Share my screen real quick. This is what they need to do.
What? Hey man, Rod Wax said y'all making too many shots, man. No, too many pot shots.
Proto-Indo-European. Be proud. My ancestors. Smiley face. Come on now.
Hey, and they used to be like, y'all just want to be like the white man, blah, blah, blah. But actually, some of these people do descend back to white Yemnayas, man.
Proto-Indo-Europeans. From Ukraine. Better go out there and help them Ukrainians, by the way.
Right. Y'all out there telling people, prepare slaughter for his children. So, okay, you are one of his children. That's what the DNA is showing you. You are a descendant of the Yemnaya. You're the descendant of the Western Europeans that you spew hate on. Exactly. It's not a bad thing. It's not inherently bad to be descended from someone that is quote unquote white. So let me go back to this because y'all have to acknowledge this Bible now. Deuteronomy 24:14. You should not oppress a hired servant who is poor and needy, whether he is one of your countrymen or one of your aliens who is in your land, in your towns. 18-26. It says, but as for you, you are to keep my statutes and my judgments and shall not do any of these abominations, neither the native nor the alien who sojourns among you. Exodus 12:19, 7 days shall there be leaven found in your houses. For whoever eats what is leavened, that person shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he's an alien or a native of the land. Exodus 20:10 says, but the 7 days of the Sabbath of the Lord your God, in it shall you not do any work. You or your son or your daughter, your male, your female servant, or your cattle, or your sojourner who stays with you. Deuteronomy 5:14. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall do no any work, you or your son or your daughter, or your male servant, or your female servant, or your ox, or your donkey, or any of your cattle, or your sojourner who stays with you. So what that your male servant and your female servant may rest as well as you. You can just keep going on and on. More verses. Like there's equity in the Bible. Read. Y'all gonna have to acknowledge that, man, and truncate the racist notions that you guys carry. Like a lot of that stuff is just black and white dichotomy that you learn from racist white Southerners here in America, man. That ain't got nothing to do with ancient Levantine culture. Show me an ancient Levantine culture where they judge people based on their skin color. According to the scripture, a sojourner can come in and abide with you and keep the practices, keep the Sabbath, keep the Passover. They can do all those things. Why are you not teaching that, tapping into that side of biblical history? But now you're going to have to be forced to, because we're going to keep revealing your ancestry and showing that those people that y'all discriminate against, you're part of those people. You're a descendant of those people. So so all those condemnations that you spout about them, what does that mean for you? What does it mean?
Prepare slaughter for his children.
It's sad. Really.
And they say we don't believe the Bible.
Say I mean, they gonna have to live with their own condemnation of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Amir said, he said another one. Let me get that. Joshua 8:34. Joshua 8 and 34 and 35. And then I'll let that be I'll let this one be the last one. I'm gonna sign off for here. And again, like what all this DNA science is gonna do is make you guys be more rational, right? Joshua 8:34-35 says, Joshua then read to them all the blessings and curses Moses had written in the book of instruction. Every word of every command that Moses had ever given was read to the entire assembly of Israel, including the women and children and the foreigners who lived among them.
Nah, brother, foreigners mean Israelites.
So the scripture being redundant, huh?
You know the scripture like to repeat itself to emphasize the point.
Oh shit! I have not dealt so with other nations. I already know that straight. I know all of the One West tricks. I know the One West trick bag, man. I was a part of them. The scripture about the other nations of spittle and all that, but you're not gonna get around the fact that Israel was pretty much open to foreigners coming and joining, amalgamating with them, and even giving their children to them. Hold on, real quick.
You just want to be with white women.
You just want to be with white women. That's
we already know Ivri want them Armanoid women. That's what it said.
Don't get them started, Ivri.
What is it? First Chronicles 4. Let me get it. Then it might be 2. It might be First Chronicles 2. Look, the sons of Judah. Watch this. Let me see if I can find it. Control F Ishmael.
What you looking for?
I'm trying to find the one where he gave his daughter to the Egyptian and daughter to the
that's Chronicles 2:34, I think. It's either First Chronicles chapter 2:34 or Second Chronicles. I think it's first though.
Yeah, let me see.
Go down because it's in the tribe of David. It should be around 34.
Look right here. It says Abigail gave birth to Amasa, and Amasa's father was Jether the Ishmaelite.
Oh, okay.
So they
then
gave
you had the
daughter.
one with Sheshan being given to the Egyptian man.
Yep, that's on down.
Yeah.
What are these guys talking about? There it is right there. Now, Sheshan had no sons, only daughters, and Sheshan had an Egyptian servant whose name was Jarha. Sheshan gave his daughter to his servant Jarha in marriage, and she gave birth to the son Attai. And Attai was the father of Nathan. Then he gives his whole lineage here, all the way down.
And if that's a native Egyptian, now we've just had 8 into our gene pool.
Yep. Come on, man. So what are y'all talking about, this exclusive doctrine when they didn't deal with no outside people? Man, that's a lie. Y'all full of sugar, honey, iced tea, man. Anything y'all want to say? I know we got my brother Moore in the building. Anything y'all want to say before we close?
Nah, just see y'all tomorrow. We gonna come back and hammer some more of this stuff on you.
Yeah, I'm gonna say shalom, family, man. Had a great time tonight. Always good to get on here, laugh and joke with the guys while bringing information to the people, man. I love it, man. Shalom.
Rob Wax said we shouldn't be laughing and having fun while we do this.
That's why he whacked.
Ivri, Captain Kazari, somebody, any closing statements?
Can't wait to do this again. I guess tomorrow, right?
Yeah. We on it, man. It's a marathon.
All right.
Yep. Another gang affiliated production.
Prodigal son, man. I hope you learned something, brother. Shalom. Folks who claim to be the most woke are often snoring the loudest in mind and spirit, keep bringing solid information, yap, and pray for those who oppose themselves without realizing it. Shalom. All right, man. We out.
Yep.
Yep.
Bitch. Don't let Draco. Don't let catch you.
Fornax, fuck it up.
Bitch. Be realistic, I don't really see no competition. Who she thinks she talking to? Like obviously I'm a nigga. Close that door, niggas snakes, I ain't going for it. Move right, outsmart them, stink team, most wanted. Be realistic, niggas bums, they ain't tryna ball. Ran it back and won, nigga, anytime we took a loss. Rock hard in my double cup, I keep spilling sauce. I don't know nothing, bodies dropped, he was not involved. Versatile, I could be a model or chalk the block. Or pop a lock with a dough, X marks the spot. Cut it out, if she ain't beneficial, I'ma cut her off. Bitch, give up, drop right now, made her cough it up. Cold demons, everywhere I go, we dropping icicles. Is we kidding? Broke niggas rapping science fiction. Every day a movie, it ain't hard to be the most consistent. A flu flammer, I be in and out with orange chicken. You know who really for the win, be realistic. He just wanna be my friend, be realistic. They don't really get no Uchis, be realistic. They can't do it how we do it, be realistic, man. Shit, bitch. You know who really for the win, be realistic. Shit. Yeah. They can't do it how we do it, be realistic.
You know who run the city, let's be realistic. Where the wonton soup, I'm finna tear up the kitchen. Is you the feds or the cops, mind your business. Draco was the dime, bitch, tell all your children. Walking back then stupid, I might men in black his memories. Tear it off quick, bitch, now, literally. If not, you gotta go to sad facts, you can't sit with me. I know I got this big Buddha piece, I need 10 of these. Things got the sauce, ingredients, and the recipe. I never stop rapping till my neck look like Mr. Then again, after that, I'ma still keep shit talking. He said he was a thug, it sound good, we made a bitch out of him. Best advice to be my friend, be realistic. I ain't even say a word, I walk in and feel the tension. All these niggas home dick, sometimes life calls for whipping. I'm a joint in my city, I ain't tucking in the trenches.
You know who really for the win, be realistic. He just wanna be my friend, be realistic. They don't really get no Uchis, be realistic. They can't do it how we do it, be realistic, man. Shit, bitch. You know who really for the win, be realistic, man. Yeah. They can't do it how we do it, be realistic.